In the chase for the coveted last ever series championship, 8 drivers who survived the trials of the first round are greeted by the Bluegrass State with a second challenge arises with a track never seen before. Live from the virtual Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky, for the first time in series history, we bring you the second round of the Monday Night Racing playoffs and tonight's Next Level Racing 200. Welcome to Podium Esports' coverage. We're alongside Dylan Connolly, having back in the booth. I'm Kenneth Bueno. Eddie Smith is our producer tonight. He'll be using cameras provided, as always, by Dougie Beard. Well, Dylan, first of all, welcome back. It's been a little bit of a minute since we've had each other in the booth, but it's nice to have you back for the second round of the playoffs. Tonight is no joke. We whittled the field from 16 by half to 8 after Nashville Fairgrounds last Monday. Tonight it's going to be a wild card. Gen 4 car is something we've seen before in Season 7, no doubt, but Legacy Kentucky is certainly something that will throw a bunch of strategies off for a lot of the drivers in this field. Track that's never seen before in series history, very rough to drive, and the setup that we're hearing is giving a lot of problems and probably could give us some excitement tonight at the beginning of the second round.
So I'm watching these guys in practice, and I've been watching them the last couple laps. It looks like they're almost driving in this Arkansas weather that's happening out here. Looks like they're driving on ice out here. It's very hard to control, but we'll see how this goes over the course of this race. You know, temperature is going to change a little bit, but it looks like it's just going to be a lot of slip sliding away tonight.
Now tonight, Dylan, is going to be the first of 3 Gen 4 car races that we'll see until the finale at Chicagoland Speedway. We'll take a look at the Season 7 schedule, what's left and what we've already gone through. Nashville Fairgrounds with the late model stock. A slight change for Richmond Raceway that we had last week. We went to the fairgrounds instead. Cole Cabre getting his second win of the playoffs. And you've got Kentucky tonight with the Gen 4, but a lot of it's going to tally over into the last 2 races, Dylan. But this specific round, probably the craziest one. If you think about how things might fare competitively, you look at Kentucky tonight, you've got MX5's at Daytona Road Course. That's always a race that's always up in the air. And then you've got Gen 4's at Auto Club on January 29th to decide the 4 that will make it to the finale at Chicagoland in early February. How important is a race like Kentucky tonight going to fare for the drivers that are looking to survive once you get to the next 2 that'll get you to a championship bid?
You know, you got to set the tone. I mean, you got 3 races until it splits off again, but I mean, you don't want to get behind the 8 ball here in this first race and then have to fight your way back at a track like Daytona Road Course and the MX5s where, you know, you might be someone that has a bad start here and then you're not very good at road courses and then suddenly you need a Superman performance at Auto Club. So I think just setting the tone and just getting off to a good start and then just doing what you're supposed to do and control everything that you can control, I think you'll find yourself in a good position.
And the good thing about this schedule upcoming for the drivers in this second round is, of course, those 2 Gen 4 races, one at 1.5 miles tonight. You've got another one at a 2-mile D-shaped oval in just a couple of weeks. So you're going to have to prioritize the skill and discipline with these cars that are notoriously hard to drive in the sim. Probably going to be the separator between those that make it to Chicagoland and those that will have to sit aside and wait until they get another opportunity at an MNR championship, which may be never, considering the series is coming to a close in early February. Now, for the drivers that are still in the playoffs, of course, we eliminated 8 drivers last week at the fairgrounds. Corey Deucer, Monin Rahman, Gary Sexton, James Bickford, Joey Padgett, Connor Berry, Michael Fisher, and Alex Monteferrante. Those drivers will be out of the playoffs, not in contention for the title, but these are the 8 left, Dylan. It's a strong group of drivers. Got surprise names like Joshua Slade, of course, Bailey Turner's in here as well, but you've got the heavy hitters that have so far dominated the season. Cole Cabre, Chase Cabre, Adam Cabot, Presley Sora, you name it. Large list of heavy-hitting drivers that we'll have to watch for and how they'll set their pace tonight at Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, these are the best 8 drivers, I've thought. I didn't think that, you know, some of these guys might have been underseeded. You know, they let a couple races get away from each other. But I really think if you were to take the top 10, all 8 of these drivers would be in that top 10. So I don't think there's really necessarily been an upset so far. But I can't wait to see what goes on over the next 3 races to get to the final.
And you're also looking at drivers that have had a lot of experience racing at this level in MNR. 5 of the 8 that currently reside in the playoffs, they have made the championship 4 prior, those being Adam Cabot, Presley Sora, Chase Cabre, Colin Fern, and Ryan Vargas. So you've got a lot of those guys that are still left in the quest for the title that have been there before. Regardless of whether they've won a title or not, they have been in the position of Championship 4 eligibility. So to whittle that down by half once we get to the next 3 races is going to be monumental. And one thing that also is going to be monumental, Dylan, is the car. Gen 4, we have definitely preached it over this season. It's really the first introduction that we've had to this car in a full-time season for MNR, but it's definitely had a warm welcome. These drivers have had a lot of fun with it. We've seen some banger races with this car. This is going to be the most important vehicle if you want to make it to that title round at Chicagoland.
Yeah, this car is way different now, considering they had that oval refresh a couple weeks ago. You could actually race it on all 3 lanes of this racetrack. It used to be, there was just 1 lane on this track, but when you race here and then Chicagoland coming up and Auto Club, this car is going to make a lot of difference in, more so than the Cup cars. I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say here. The Gen 4 is going to be harder to drive than anything that they'll have driven this year. It's a regular 4-gear transmission, 3,400 pounds, but it's essentially what the ARCA car was with more horsepower, and it's a beast.
I mean, you're looking at it out of the NA V8 that comes with 725 horsepower underneath the hood. This car is notoriously really tough to keep under control, and with the drivers talking about the setup so far for this race, it is only exacerbating the effects that this car gives everywhere on the surface. Tonight is going to be a real challenge of skill and, of course, ability to keep a car together over the course of tonight's 133 laps. Now, for the track that this car will be racing on, Dylan, we've never seen it before in Monday Night Racing history, surprisingly enough. Kentucky Speedway, the track over in Sparta, Kentucky. NASCAR currently doesn't race on it. This is the old 2011 Legacy Scan on iRacing, and this 1.5-mile track certainly is a beast, though, Dylan. It's 2 different opposite ends, 17 degrees in turn 1 and 2, then you got 14 degrees in 3 and 4. For a track making its debut, it's certainly a big one that these drivers are going to have to learn.
Oddly enough, this is the second most famous track in the state of Kentucky, of course, second to Churchill Downs, but it is not like Churchill Downs. It's a D-shaped oval. It's really, I guess you could say, similar to like a Nashville, maybe an old Las Vegas before they added the banking, but, it's going to be a real interesting, especially since this is the legacy version, how this is going to drive tonight.
Yeah, I was thinking Churchill Downs, like the Jack Harlow song, but yeah, Churchill Downs, the racetrack. But this one in Kentucky is going to be a very important one, and we've seen already a lot of newness in Season 7. You think about the IR01s making their debut in the season opener. You've got the likes of GT4 Porsches at Long Beach, something we had never seen prior, Wild West Motorsports Park, late model stock cars. We've got a bunch of new in Season 7, and Kentucky is joining that list for the last ever Monday Night Racing campaign. Now, of course, just like we said, this is the Legacy Scan from 2011, so it's not the new one with the green walls and the repaved surface. We've got the old bumps, we've got the abrasive surface that this track was notorious for a while back. So Dylan, how much is that going to impact the drivers as they go into this race? Just because you don't have a new surface, you're going to have to work with a lot of old asphalt here.
Yeah, it's old asphalt, and the big thing is, a lot of guys, they haven't probably raced this track before. They probably haven't even raced the new version of Kentucky, but this isn't necessarily a track that pops up even on the official schedules, and this is the first time, of course, we've gone to this track in Monday Night Racing, but there's a whole lot of new in this.
And for the drivers, it's a new challenge that they'll have to encounter, specifically the 8 that will try to bout for a Monday Night Racing title in just a couple of weeks. Drivers are behind the iRacing official pace car on pit road. We'll take you trackside and get you the starting grid of tonight's Next Level Racing 200 here from the virtual Kentucky Speedway, where on the pole is Cole Cabre, the man on fire who's won the last 2 of the 3 races in this series. Car number 51 will be up in front with Bailey Turner, playoff driver, on his outside in row number 1 to the green flag. Chase Cabre, the brother of Cole, will be on the inside of row number 2 behind his teammate Connor Berry with a surprisingly great qualifying effort. He roll off from position number 4 tonight at the exit of row number 2, before you'll find Glenn Gardner, New Jersey's Adam Cabot, driver of the number 17. He rolls off from the top 5, Colin Fern on his outside, fellow playoff driver looking to get back to championship contention. He'll be around in position number 6. Corey Dusser rolls off from the 7th spot in the 04 Speed Factor Fusion. Then DJ Cummings in the 10 machine on his outside in position number 8. Final 2 in the top 10 include the 83 of Joey Padgett and league owner Tennessee native Ford Martin in the top 10.
Going back to 11th, we have the newest voice that will appear in eNASCAR. Ryan Vargas was named the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing broadcasting crew alongside Evan Pasoko. And I can't remember. Blake McCandless, he's going to hate me. I forgot that. The Matt Stallnick in 12th place. Joshua Slate, 13th. Gary Sexton in 14th. Manan Rahman, 15th place. 16th goes to Nick Olson. 17th is Jordan Black. Presley Sora, fresh off an ARCA test at Daytona. In 19th place, Mark Rabilis, and then Mario Miranda, holding up the 20th position tonight. And take us through the rest of the field, Kenneth.
21st will be Christopher Tate. That says Joey Padgett sucks, but that is Reed Wilson, in fact, behind the wheel of the number 66 tonight. Brett Baldock is 23rd, and rounding out our 24-car field, the number 54 of Steve Alfont. Looks like he did not make the starting grid. Still on pit road. Didn't even load behind the iRacing official pace car. So we'll get to rolling here behind pace car as we get to the green flag here from Kentucky. We go 133 laps here from the Bluegrass State, around 199.5 miles, 320.5 kilometers. And Dylan, we've got only 3 sets of tires in the pits over this long race. It's going to be a lot about prioritizing rubber, and more so than it is keeping this car alive and straight.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a very abrasive surface, but I want to point out something that just happened on pit road. Mario Miranda and Presley Sora both have pretty major damage to their rear end and their front end, because one of them decided to go and then stomped on the brakes, but now they have a lot of damage, and those are 2 guys that are fighting for position in these playoffs. I mean, the action's already beginning. Kenneth.
Oh man, yeah, Sora already on his way to a title if he can advance past this round, and he does have pretty hard left rear damage. Mario Miranda has a bit of a crinkle there on the front end of his Toyota Supra Gen 4 car. So for Sora, he definitely is not going to like the opening sector of this race, and he'll probably call for a caution as soon as possible just so he can be able to get that Toyota repaired. So Sora already in a bit of trouble. Just a bit of mishaps that happen on pit road. And Dylan, I don't think we've ever seen that before this season. Just the damage being picked up before we even get the green flag like this.
Well, as long as they try to get it out of the way now, I'll take the loss there. But, hopefully it's not a sign of things to come tonight.
Have to question how much that's going to affect Sora's aerodynamics in the middle of the corners. You think about the different banking in 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. But the way this track is built, you've got 2 ends of the racetrack you have to race and separate them in your mind. For Sora, is that damage going to make one part of the track worse? Is it just going to be worse all around? We'll have to see what happens with the Cambridge City, Indiana native, but Sora does roll off from 18th out of the 24 cars on the grid, so he's got a lot of work to do regardless of the situation. Cole Cabry and Bailey Turner, the 51 and the 5, will round the field out of turn 4. Pace car will make that left to the entrance of pit road. It's the first ever Monday night racing event here from Kentucky Speedway. We'll go racing for the 2nd round of the MNR playoffs. Now, green flag in the air, and the next level racing 200. Race control having a bit of look at the opening jump on the start. They say everything is clear. We're good on lap number 1 here from Kentucky Speedway. Moves already inside the top 3. Adam Cabot swishing to the inside of Chase Cabry has that position made as Bailey Turner stays right behind the 51 of Cole Cabry. Most of the field single filing out early on in this opening 2-lap stretch. So far, Dylan, all the drivers already dealing with the effects of this hot track temperature and, of course, the setup on these Gen 4 cars. It's not easy to drive. We're seeing the tail ends being whipped out all over the place.
Yeah, a lot of slip sliding already. You saw it in the middle of the pack there and on back. We've already had a lot of separation all throughout the pack just because of the skill gap that's necessary to drive this all the way around the track. But a lot of guys complain about the setup, but my thing is, it's the same setup for everybody, and someone's going to figure it out, and it seems like the usual suspects that are pretty good week in, week out are the ones up front. So what's the old saying, Darrell Waltrip had, the cream's going to rise to the top? Well, the cream is rising, and a lot of the cream is already at the top right now.
The best drivers will always find a way through, and guys like Cole, Turner, you think of Cabot, of course, Chase Cabre, all of them had to deal with those effects in the long practice session, which was about an hour or so long. They had to deal with everything that was going on with the setup and, of course, with the track conditions. They seem to have been the best acclimated to these conditions with this car so far, holding on to the top 4 spots. Here's a nice position battle. This is for P6. Corey Deucer under fire from Joey Padgett. These two were pretty much close, if not already in the Monday Night Racing playoffs in that first round. Of course, Corey Deucer was a part of that coveted Group A, was eliminated with Adam Cabot and Cole Cabre moving on through. Deucer just trying to grab his first career MNR win. As you look on board with the number 04, there's Ryan Vargas right behind in 8th.
Yeah, up here now for Cole Cabre. I have to wonder how much he's running his tires off, or if he is, but a lot of guys just were pretty much single file all throughout the field, and there's a lot of spreading out, which is kind of surprising, even with the way the setup is and the abrasive surface. But things pretty even keel. Like I said, I think we got all the wrecking out of our way under the pace laps.
And it looks like as well for Presley Sora, it really hasn't affected him all that much. After starting in 18th tonight, he's already +4 since the drop of the green flag. So it looks like the left rear damage really isn't doing him any harm right now. There's a look at the 98. Currently in the battle with the car that he got into, the 89 of Mario Miranda, while they were under pacing. So Sora might have to give a little payback here to Miranda, or they'll just dish it out on the track and be able to get around each other cleanly. There's the 98, big run out of turn 4. Swoops to the inside of the Tulsa, Oklahoma native, who just had the Chili Bowl happen just across the street from his house. So Miranda dealing, of course, with the festivities over the past weekend, and Sora makes that position made. That's 13th. Bit of a gap back to Joshua Slate, next car in line in 12th. But a big moment out of turn 2 there for Sora. Look on board with Miranda.
I think that damage is going to play more of a part in Miranda's race, because there's a big crinkle on the front end. Where that damage is on the rear of Presley Sora's car really hasn't made a difference, but Miranda can run into some overheating issues here later on over the course of the race. But I think they're actually probably both okay. They'll want a caution to get that all patched up, but so far so good.
And everybody's single file. You can tell off the front end look of Miranda's machine just how everybody has settled nicely, nose to tail. Nobody really wants to make any challenges for position unless they're desperately needed at this stage of the race. But only lap 8 when you're looking at a lot of conservatism earlier on. And we saw a lot of that at Nashville Fairgrounds last week with the late model stocks, especially with the limited amount of tire sets they got, only 2. Now we have 3 tonight with the Gen 4s at Kentucky. But Dylan, this race is really going to be about saving those tires and making sure that you can unleash those sets when necessary and when it benefits you the most. Because if there's anything we learned at the fairgrounds last week with the late model stocks, is that when you put on the tires is going to matter for how the field is going to cycle out, A, but B, just how much strength they're going to have at the end of the run. And that's the thing that we had with Cole Cabre and Bailey Turner last week, just who was better on tires, who could catch up in enough time, and obviously who could outlast the other when it came down to a long run.
Yeah, I think you're going to see just this long green flag run here, because again, nobody's really trying to fight each other for position. Everyone's just being really patient. Of course, we have a battle right now for third. Chase Cabre and Adam Cabot fighting for third place, but other than that, that's really it all throughout the field. There's a lot of separation as I just happened to look at Steve Offon. He about lost it in the back, but I mean, we already have guys that are already about 15 seconds behind the leader, so there is a decent amount of skill gap in this, and I think that's kind of what everyone wanted was, so you have the best drivers win.
And right now, it's the top 6. So you're looking at Cole Cabre, Turner, Chase Cabre, Adam Cabot, Joey Padgett, and Connor Berry. All of them pulling away from this second group of cars that's starting to somewhat build up. Ryan Vargas, Corey Deucer, you've got Jordan Black in there in 9th place. So you're definitely right, Dylan. The drivers that are best suited for this car at this track at the moment, and that have put in the most practice and have gotten used to the conditions, they're starting to rise up. And for Chase Cabre, he made that move over for third place, now challenging on Bailey Turner, the McKinleyville, California native, might have this challenge for second. Look on board with Ryan Vargas, and you talked about it, Dylan, the announcement that was made just a couple of days ago that Ryan Vargas will join the booth for select races in the 2024 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. So he'll have the chance to dish out his expertise with the likes of Evan Pasoko, the great play-by-play commentator for the series, and of course our very own Blake McCandless, who was racing in this series not too long ago. So not only is Vargas balling on the track, looks like he's balling off the track in the eNASCAR space and doing a lot of good there too.
You know, that's a good pickup for eNASCAR. You know, Ryan's a very solid guy. He's actually a really good guy. He's very knowledgeable about racing, sim racing, and real racing and otherwise. But, you know, he's a fresh voice into everything. Blake and Evan are excellent at what they do. I mean, they're not nearly as good as us, by the way. I mean, they're a really close second to us, but I'm just kidding. But yeah, Ryan's going to do an excellent job in that. And I figured he would have a good future in broadcasting in the real world level, but this is, you know, another way to get a stepping stone into that real world possibly level of broadcasting that he might want to do.
And he's also one of those real-life drivers, Dylan, that have really embraced the growth of eNASCAR, right? Of course, you have the real-life NASCAR drivers that are kind of in their own thing in the real world and have dabbled here and there with eNASCAR, but really haven't been as involved. Ryan Vargas, you know, he's been a pioneer on both ends of the spectrum, you know, getting rides in real life, whether it's the Xfinity Series or the Truck Series. And then you're looking at, of course, what he's been able to do on the eNASCAR side of things and bringing in sponsors and running the International Series a while ago and just putting his name out there and embracing the culture that's still growing in the world of sim racing, especially on the oval side. So it's going to be really awesome to have not only the expertise, but the great personality that Ryan Vargas brings everywhere he goes. But you have to deal with a lot of pressure from behind right now. Jordan Black and Corey Deucer sort of putting it up to him, and here's the 14 diving on the bottom. This is for 7th. Oh, and contact.
Well, they're hanging on each other. Vargas got a little, looked like there was a little damage there, but I think it cleared up. But, you know, Ryan's having to fight for his life over here with Jordan Black. Good little battle here for 7th. Really one of the only battles on the racetrack right now. Got a little battle for 3rd right now, but nothing major, as I think Jordan Black's going to clear him right here, and Jordan's going to move into the 7th spot off of turn number 2. All clear so far for these first 16 laps. I'm going to flip the script on you. You always ask me the questions, but are you surprised that this has been this clean so far?
I mean, not entirely. I mean, I believe we would have seen some sort of sideways action, maybe some cars getting loose here and there. I imagine probably a first caution from opening jitterness from this car and this track and the way the conditions, the drivers are talking about it pre-race. But I mean, definitely not surprised to see most of the field, if not almost everybody, in a cleanly fashion, because over the last couple of races, Dylan, we've seen a lot of green flag racing, which has been really awesome to see. You look at the last Gen 4 race we had at Homestead of Miami Speedway. That race went from flag to flag without a yellow, but looks like as soon as I talk about it, there's the caution. It's Mario Miranda sideways on the backstretch.
Well, you couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better myself, but you had to go jinx it. We had to go jinx it, so. Yeah, wow. Mario's having a tough little time right now. I think he kept it off the wall. Looked like it was just a one-car spin, but we'll see if we can get a replay here. And, you know, he's just riding along, and I think he got in the gas just a little too quick, and he did a neat little, almost 360, but he kept it off the wall and no more damage than he already had. So we're under our first caution here on lap 18 because we just had to say something about it, Kenneth.
Yep. And there's a look in car from the 89, just sideways and ripped away from his grasp. And goes for a quick spin. Not a lot of damage to the 89, doesn't even back it really into the inside wall, so keeps it away from harm in terms of the walls on the inside and outside. But he'll have the chance to repair his Supra as he comes down pit road. So we talked about over driving the car and how a lot of guys in the practice session were discussing the way this car was very loose on its own end. Looks like Miranda got the worst end of that, as we've got some takers and non-takers in and out of pit road. Cole and Chase Cabry, including Ryan Vargas, Corey Deucer, among those that are going to stay out. Bailey Turner and company are coming in on lap 19.
You know, not really surprising. I think everyone's going to take a set of 4 tires here on this caution here, just to kind of see where everything's at. And looks like Mario Miranda might have inadvertently used his quick repair because he got that damage fixed up quick. I think he could have just went without taking it and just gone on his way, but I guess we'll see as they can roll off a pit road here. As let's take the wave over there as we are off pit road and back racing.
I think I just noticed something here, Dylan. We've got 3 faster pairs for the drivers in the field We'd expect 0, given the MNR admins what they've been telling us all year, but it looks like 3 faster pairs given to each and every driver
Oh, wow.
tonight from Kentucky. So, boy, that's going to shake a lot of things up. Presley Sora, guy who got damaged earlier on in the race, looks like he's going to have a clean race car. You're just using that faster pair on pit road. And speaking of which, we'll talk to the Indiana native. We'll bring him into the booth. Presley Sora, driver of the number 98. Now, Presley, we want to ask you, because Dylan and I were talking about it, the bit of contact that happened before the green flag, what happened there from your perspective?
Yeah, it looked like the whole field was rolling and Nick never really went anywhere. And I moved forward a couple feet, kind of like getting him to go, like hoping he was seeing me moving in the mirror and, maybe a little push to get him going. And Mario thought that we were all going and ran into the back of me. So I don't really put any fault on anyone in that one. I think it was just a mix of Nick not going, me trying to get him to go, and then Mario thinking that we were all going. So I'd say that was just a racing deal on pit road.
Well, good news is, Presley, you got the faster pair. Your car is pretty much set. And even with the damage, you still looked pretty fast. So, I mean, it didn't look like it harmed you all that much. Actually, I don't think you got the faster pair. But still, car looking good, car racing good at the moment. Let's talk about the car, how it feels in real life. Because you had that experience over the weekend with MNR Series testing going on at the World Center of Racing, driving a car for Wayne Peterson Racing. What was that like to get that feeling of, wow, I've made it? It was a sim to reality story. It was so cool to see. You're posting on Twitter and all over social media. What was that experience like for you? What can you say about it?
Yeah, it was really, really awesome. It's one of those deals where if it wasn't for iRacing, I wouldn't have been able to do that in real life. And iRacing has created so many opportunities for me to get, opportunities to drive real race cars. And yeah, it was really surreal. It was nice to compare, the car in real life to the car on iRacing. One thing I can tell you is it is much, much hotter in the ARCA car. I ran late models last year, but the ARCA car was by far the hottest. And just the forces, like you drive off into the banking and it's like you go over a little lip and it feels like someone's just pressing down on your shoulders and head and you can't move, but the car's got tons of grip. It's really, really cool. So I promise I have more of those opportunities lined up throughout the 2024 season. You just got to stay tuned to my socials to see what I've got in store. So.
It's really awesome to see what you've been able to do in real life. I know we talked about the late model stock racing you've had there and all the experience on that front, and then moving up to ARCA. It's certainly a great story. We've been really happy to see it all unfold. So Presley, it's super awesome, the opportunity. Big congratulations again on being able to test with the MNR Series, and wishing you the best of luck in the rest of tonight's race from Kentucky.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So that's Presley Sora, driver of the 98. He'll be rolling off from 7th once we get the green flag here on this restart, lap number 22. Your top 10 have stayed out, all on old rubber. Bailey Turner is the first car on fresh tires in position number 11. So everybody up here gonna have to brace for impact with the tire wear. Might see if another caution comes out as the strategy unfolds. The Cabries line up the front row. Pace car is down. Cole has the discretion as we get back to green in the next level racing 200. 51 is up and away. We're back racing from Kentucky Speedway. The charge into turn 1. Looks like Ryan Vargas diving in there immediately on Corey Deucer. 3 of the Speed Factor Ford Fusions up top. Looks like they'll hold it out on the back straightaway. Vargas will settle through back and forth, and everybody already lines it up single file unless you look further back in this top 15. A big gaggle of cars making their way through, and here come the fresh tire machines, Dylan. Here comes Bailey Turner underneath Presley Sora battling for 6, and Adam Cabot in the middle, 3 wide.
Yeah, I think those that didn't take tires are probably going to regret this decision if this goes green for a while, because there is a significant difference just based on the first lap that we've gone back green on the levels of grip that these guys with new tires have compared to the ones that have 18 lap old tire. Because this is such an abrasive, I took a few test drive laps. This is a very abrasive surface. I mean, even just running 4 or 5 laps at full speed, you have a lot of issues going on with your tires. And, this might be something they stick in the back of their head like, hey, if I'm on 10 lap old tires and I got 1 set left with 10 to go, I might consider taking that set. But I think that's what a lot of these front guys are banking on, is that it'll cycle out to where they'll have 1 set left with 20 to go when everyone else is out.
this is going to be imperative as well. You're looking at the onboard camera here from Adam Cabot, just how the tire strategy can largely affect the course of the race, and these guys will be dealing with all of that at Auto Club and then at Chicagoland, two surfaces that are really rough on the race cars and that do eat up the Goodyear Eagles beneath these race cars. So you're looking at how this tire strategy unfolds, and they're making them look like they're standing still, the old tire cars, as Cabot and Turner have been able to slice their way through, end up in the top 5. And here's car number 5 stretching his way to second place. Chase Caber looked at it for the position in the first run. Now after the caution, Bailey Turner will make this look easy. Battle for second.
I think of this Chicagoland and Auto Club, I think this will be the most abrasive surface they race on. So if you're able to save here and still compete at a high level, I think that's going to be a good sign for a lot of these guys that are in the playoffs for how it's going to go at Auto Club and then Chicagoland if they make it that far.
Now watch this, 3 wide further back. Woo. Presley Sora in the middle of it all. That was the 41 of Matt Stolnick on the high side. Jordan Black underneath. And that got really sketchy there for car number 98. Had to back out as the fresh tire cars were making their way through. And the 98 almost ran out of space as here comes Turner to the inside for the lead. And our first lead change of tonight's Next Level Racing 200. Bailey Turner up front.
Yeah, Bailey Turner back to the lead now, or actually the first time he's in the lead. But, you know, a lot of the guys that are inside this top 5, all but 2 of them are on fresh tires. So it's making a difference here. Bailey Turner, who it wasn't a big gamble, but it was enough of a gamble where they lost track position, but he was able to get it all back here. And it's like Cole and Chase Caber are both fighting for their life, trying to maintain position here as Adam Cabot goes into second place.
And you're also looking, Dylan, at about 20 laps of difference between the drivers who just came down pit road and those who decided to stay out. These guys are rolling on to lap number 9 of their stint, while the old tire cars are around lap number 28. So it is really a large start difference between the two groups. As here's Connor Berry, driver looking on the inside here. Winner at Wild West for the first time in his MNR career earlier in the regular season. And how about the performance he's putting up tonight, Dylan? You'd expect that obviously the off-road stuff is his forte. He'd be strong there. And here tonight at Kentucky Speedway with these Gen 4 cars, Berry has it in control. And currently moving up to 4th, highest we've seen him since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, Connor Berry, you know, one thing that's a lot of people don't understand, and you'll see it in real life too. You know, you might have a guy that's in eNASCAR, or you might have a guy that's at the professional level on the dirt road side like Connor Berry is. If you can drive, you can drive. So it's not like it's just a ginormous upset that he could hop into a lot of these oval cars and compete at a high level. But, I mean, it's certainly impressive to be able to do this at different levels. I'm sure, you know, when we go to Daytona next week, he'll have a good shot there. But what I've learned is if you can drive, you can drive. I mean, in real life, whether it's in NASCAR and Formula One, whatever it may be, if you can drive a four-wheeled car anywhere, you could drive one.
For Berry here, catching up to the 17 of Adam Cabot, putting in better lap times than the Season 4 champion of the series. So Berry so far ripping it here in the O2 machine as he works into 3rd, looking for his best finish with the Gen 4 car in Season 7. Last time we were out at Homestead of Miami Speedway, had some connectivity issues heading into the session and of course to race time, so he ended up just getting the 32nd place points out of the field in the race. You look at Atlanta Motor Speedway, then his next best finish was 11th at that point, and then finished 17th with the Gen 4 cars at Michigan. So Berry looking for a breakout here tonight. Of course, one of those eliminated from the first round of the playoffs after just having overall troubles at Homestead and Talladega. But Berry proving a lot of the doubters wrong right now, entering the top 3 and putting on a show. And speaking of which, so far, Dylan, they have absolutely pulled away from everybody through. Next fresh tire car behind Connor Berry is Joey Padgett, but even then, he's now starting to get around the 51 of Cole. These gaps putting on are huge.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the last couple laps. Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot, and Connor Berry, you know, your top 3. And now alongside Joey Padgett, who's in 4th now, they're roughly 4 to 6/10 of a second faster than Cole Cabry has been. So these fresh tires, you know, even it's just a 18 to 20 lap difference, are making a gigantic difference now as the top 3 have about almost a 3-second lead over 4th place Joey Padgett, who had to work his way through the field after those pit stops.
283 works his way through. There's the 51 of Cabry, just letting everyone through. That's Joshua Slate, next driver who gambled on the fresh tires here. Still a playoff driver, and probably one of the bigger upset drivers in the playoffs still for the round of 8. Definitely got around the likes of Michael Fisher, Alex Monteferrante, drivers who really didn't make the last couple of races in the playoffs. Slate took advantage. He got out of his group. Now he's part of the 8 drivers that are still running for a Monday Night Racing title. He gets by the 51. There's a look on board from Cole in position number 6. But so far for these guys who have stayed out, Dylan, obviously you talked about needing a caution if you want to get back on a level playing field, but you're already 34 laps into this stint. This run is going green right now. How do you attack the move to pit road if you're seeing this race play out the way it is?
So I always look, anytime I'm in a race, and I'm sure a lot of other people are the same way, is, you know, I look at how many tire sits I have in pits, which is 3, along with the one that's on the car, 4. So I always try to take whatever the distance is, so 133 divided by 4, which, doing some rough math in my head, is about 29 to 30 laps a run. So you're taking a big gamble, even if you have pitted already, because you're going to have to stretch one of these sets of tires probably longer than you would want to. I mean, you're going to have to stretch a set of tires somewhere in this race at least 40 to 45 laps, depending on the strategy that you're at. And a lot of these guys did not pit. They're already at 35 laps on one set of tires, so they're already ahead of the game. But these guys that pitted early, they're going to have to go at some point 40 to 50 laps on one set of tires.
It's going to be a big task, especially with the way we've seen these cars fall off on the long run. I mean, before we had that first yellow with Mario Miranda, we just saw exactly how much the effects were wearing down on the drivers as the rubber just went away with this track surface and with the temperature that we've seen so far tonight in the wakes of 120 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not getting any easier out there, that's for sure. You've got a pretty good idea of exactly what the drivers on the old tires are thinking. They're probably saying, you guys took the tires too early. We're camping where we're chilling right now. We can just take the tires when we need to and just be able to play our 3-set strategy the way we would over the rest of the race. Just a reminder that coverage of the Monday Night Racing playoffs here from Kentucky Speedway is brought to you by Next Level Racing. Next Level Racing is proud to partner with Monday Night Racing. Founded in 2009, Next Level Racing is the world's leading simulation brand, revolutionizing simulation racing with its industry-leading product range. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information. So there's a look at the field, all separated. Here is Jordan Black in the 14, and now look at DJ Cummings back in 14th place. And this is the basically camp here, Dylan, of all the old tire cars. You think of Matt Stolnick in the 41, who's leading this group, Presley Sora behind, DJ Cummings, and then, of course, Ford Martin, both of those teammates. All these guys just trying to settle themselves out nicely and just find their way here over the course of the 38-lap stretch we've had in this second run under green.
Yeah, things all smooth sailing right now after Mario Miranda's spin earlier. But, you know, all in all, I think the mix of the setup and the abrasive surface, you know, you're seeing a lot of separation, and that's going to result in a fairly clean race. I don't think there's, of course, knock on wood, I don't think there's going to be just a whole lot of, you know, beating and banging, a lot of wrecks going on in this race just because there's no cars around to even wreck.
We've got a development, though, here around the top 15. So Martin going to strike to the inside of his teammate in Cummings. Looks like not going to be successful there. DJ going to be able to get by without a real problem. And Ford Martin, his best finish so far in Season 7 was a top 5. That came with the IR01s at Indianapolis Motor Speedway to kick off the season. Since then, he's only picked up one top 10, and that was the next race with the next gens at Daytona International Speedway. So safe to say this 07 car is looking for a better finish than what he's been able to pick up over the season, especially knowing that it's the last. And this beautiful Mach10 digital Chevrolet just settling in through the traffic as the 10 is a big run on Presley Sora, might make something of it heading into turn 3. Looks like Martin got in the wall there.
Yeah, looks like he might have grazed the wall just a hair, but it's keeping on right now. But I just look, the thing that's just kind of blown me away is I knew there would be separation. I didn't realize there would be this much separation. I just looked from first to second, there's a second and a half, and then you have Cabot and Connor Berry together. And then about 3 seconds back is Joey Padgett and Joshua Slate, then another second, and then there's no more than about a group of 4 cars that are within each other every second or so as we have someone coming down pit road right now. It looks like Matt Stolnick coming down for a pit stop.
And here's the 41 in and about, so we'll get his set of fresh tires here. 40 laps into his stint, and has fallen all the way back to dead last 23rd just because nobody else has come down pit road since. So there's Stallnet going to be able to get his 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. He's out and away and will bring himself back to contention. We'll see, though, if this is the calling card for everyone else to find themselves in the pit lane here at Kentucky as of lap 42. We'll keep an eye on those old tire cars, but for now it's the fresh tires that prevail, and there's the 5 of Bailey Turner, about a 2nd and 3/10 over his teammate Adam Cabot in the 17. Yeah, it looks like so far, Dylan, we're seeing packs of 4, maybe packs of 5, just looking like starting 5s and NBA squads out there sometimes. They're looking at specific groups, but the 5 car has specifically been able to pull away nicely, as here's a good battle for 10th place. Monin Rahman in the 44, Ryan Vargas behind in the 26.
Now, Vargas having himself a pretty decent little race right now. You know, it's very deceiving when you say, oh yeah, he's running in 11th. Well, compared to the cars that are on the same strategy as him, he's running about 5th. So it's really hard to judge how good of a day someone is having right now, especially when you have pretty much the entire top 6 are all in the same strategy, and everyone else behind them are on a different strategy. So it's been a pretty, easygoing day for Vargas right now.
There's Ford Martin in the 07 heading down pit road. And when we talked to Vargas last week after the 3rd place finish at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, what he told us is that he's just taking it normally. He's not really thinking about a lot of the complications of the point standings or who's around him, what drivers he has to worry about. In his words, he was just vibing through the first round of the playoffs, and he wants to keep that going through the rest of the postseason. It's a vibe that's worked for him so far. His more relaxed and calm nature has really helped him just settle in, have a lot of fun, while at the same time competing at a very high level. As here's Nick Olson, the 3rd car, Chevrolet, would come down pit road in the number 24. But Vargas's mindset for these playoffs so far, Dylan, is just to vibe out, and it's working so far.
Yeah, I mentioned it at the top of the broadcast. You just want to you want to have a good start. You don't want to get behind any race. Pretty much, if you usually just vibe and you kind of keep tabs of the other 7 guys that you're fighting against, as long as you can finish ahead of 3 or 4 of those 7 guys, you don't need to finish ahead of all of them, all 3 races. As long as you can just stack points and just have good finishes and, actually make it to the finish. More than likely, if you're like some would say, like Ryan Vargas, you'll make that Final 4, and you'll have a good shot to win a championship the last year Monday Night Racing, as we have Nick Olson and a bunch of other takers down pit road here.
And you saw Ryan Vargas on that bottom right camera just aggressively downshifting as he was entering the turn 3 and 4 sector of Kentucky Speedway, and we've got a brigade of Speed Factor Ford Fusions coming in. That's the 51 of Cole Cabry, the 39 of Chase Cabry, and the 04 of Corey Deucer. So we've got 3 Fords in, all from the same camp, of course, taking their stops here 46 laps into their stint. And then next up, you've got, looks like the 44, Monin Rahman is in, so is the 10 of DJ Cummings. So this is decision time, not to quote LeBron from 2010, but this is decision time right now for those who want to come in on the old set.
So now this is where the strategy starts to come in. You have your guys that stayed out and everyone that's starting to pit around the same lap. Last time by, just looking at Ford Martin's time, he ran a 33 flat. That's a 2nd and a 3rd faster than the guys that pitted on lap 18. So the other thing that's going to make a difference is if you're on that strategy where you pitted on lap 18, when do you pit? Because you don't want to lose too much time here, because you're essentially giving up, at best, a 2nd a lap until you pit. So do you wait till lap 50? Do you pit earlier than you probably would have thought? I mean, there's a whole bucket of options here for a lot of guys.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dylan. You're looking at slowing the hemorrhaging if you're these guys up at the front, because now you're 30 laps into the stint. You're starting to get way slower, and as these guys run circles around you, a lot of them unlapping themselves, as here's Presley Sora, Season 5 champion, coming on to pit road for the first time tonight in his number 98 Toyota. When you're looking at a lot of these guys who are probably thinking, should I pit now? Should I maybe not extend this stint as long as maybe I was hoping to, just because of the way this race has gone green? It's just a big debate that you're probably kicking around of your head if you're Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot, and those who have stayed out. There's Sora. Looks like he's overshot his pit box a little bit. And too much on the binders, overcooked the entrance. But car 98 is in regardless. He'll come out with a fresh set of Goodyear Eagles. We'll be around at lap number 50 as Bailey Turner continues to lead this race by 2 and 3/10. Now, for Bailey Turner, it's been a really interesting playoff so far, Decon, for the 5 car, because Turner, while he's been pretty close to getting wins in Monday Night Racing over his career, he's never really been as close as the last 4 races where he's finished 2nd twice. And in both of those races, Atlanta and last week in Nashville Fairgrounds, he was very close, and I mean really close, to getting to a race victory for the first time in his career, and he was beat at the last second. He is the only remaining playoff driver that has never won a Monday Night Racing event. And I can imagine, Dylan, as a driver, that weighs on you a lot, especially as he's in this overthinking zone, leading laps here by himself.
Yeah, it probably gets more on him as the races go on, because it's not like he's rallied to get to second. He's been in second, or he's been leading, and then something happens and he ends up in second. So that starts to weigh on you. It's like, okay, I'm up here. When's whatever bad is going to happen? You know, if you're leading this race, because you start to, a lot of self-doubt starts to creep in. And I know Bailey's a really excellent racer, but if you keep finishing second, you know, Casey Kane talked about this in 2004, 2005. I think he had the most second place finishes before his first win in the history of NASCAR. And he even thought, like, is he ever going to break down that door? And, you know, only 4 races left in Monday Night Racing. You know, once he breaks that door down, he could be very dangerous over the next 3 races. Hopefully it comes happening tonight.
And, you know, a lot of times, Dylan, when we talk about drivers who are constantly near to breaking down that door, as soon as they get that first win, they roll with it better than anyone else. They just start to rack in either top 5s, top 3s, or they just start winning all of a sudden. And one of those cases is Cole Cabrey in the 51, right? You think of a driver who never got to victory lane in MNR before Homestead in Miami, other than the Summer Series. But when he got his first Pro Series win, he said, yeah, I'm rolling with this 100%. Then a second win at Nashville Fairgrounds last weekend, just constant good finishes and constantly a threat to get to the checkered flag first. So I can imagine for Bailey Turner, the fate is almost the same for this San Francisco 49ers number 5 car, although he is getting caught by Adam Cabot by the tune of a couple of tenths, back to 4 tenths here to the 17. So we might have a battle of the lead on our hands as Mario Miranda enters pit road for what appears to be the first time tonight.
And Mario comes down pit road, and looks like we had someone stopped on the backstretch, it looked like. I couldn't tell who that was, but it looked like Steve Offont might have been stopped on the back stretches. He was coming off of turn number 2 and just lost it and slapped the wall and just took a tow back to pit road.
Yeah, the 54 got sideways, same place of the racetrack that Miranda got sideways to bring out our first yellow. And although he did get sideways, slapped the inside wall, he kept the car straight enough. It looks like it was at minimum speed. iRacing didn't constitute that as a yellow flag, so for now, we're going to stay racing. The 54 decided to tow it onto pit road. It looks like his night from Kentucky competitively might just come to an end. He's 4 laps down and counting, just trying to get a piece of the damage fixed. There's Brett Baldick on fresh tires moving around to unlap himself, but most importantly, Dylan, there's the 17. They're both sideways at a turn 2 in the battle for P1.
Yeah, that got a little hairy right there. Adam Cabot's been making up time these last couple laps. I don't know if Bailey's starting to lose a lot of grip right now, but you know, a lot of those guys that we were talking about earlier, you know, they pitted on lap 45. It's been 11 laps since then, so I imagine their pit window is going to open up here in just a few short laps if it hasn't already. But Adam Cabot is on Bailey Turner like he's on him like a cheap suit right now, and I think that's another thing. If they keep fighting like this, they're going to burn their tires up even more, so they're going to have to pit even earlier. But if I'm these guys that pitted on lap 18, I think I would have considered pitting at least before this lap, because you've lost essentially a second a lap, so you've lost 10 seconds essentially since that lap 45 pit stop for a lot of those guys.
And you've got the Cabrey brothers as well, who are 10th and 11th a lap down, looking to get through these lead lap cars up front. The 17 makes a look on the inside. 5 is going to take the high approach here in 1 and 2. And for now, it seems to be working. He'll hold off the pressure for now. They almost make the contact, and the teammates door to door as we head back to turn 3.
2 good-looking paint schemes, by the way. That 49ers car and that Atlas Hair Products car. As, a little contact there. Cabot slid up just a hair and knocked Bailey Turner up just the track slightly. And it looks like Adam Cabot's going to assume the lead here.
Boy, Cabot got through Turner like Christian McCaffrey gets through a D line on the field. So far, Cabot being able to hold on to the lead, and there are the 2 lap cars that we mentioned right there, the two Cabri brothers, still a lap down, but they are the first cars to be behind a lap by the leader. So this will be a prime opportunity for them to get over these guys and be able to unlap themselves and put themselves in a prime position as these guys slowly start filtering to pit road. And that's where we slowly start to uncover the answer, Dylan, of how long is too long for these guys who pitted on the first yellow.
Well, you just assume, since everyone pitted about lap 45 to 47, you'd add 18 to that. So you would say around lap 66, somewhere in the 60s, which we're in right now, they would come down pit road. Or they might be trying to split this race into two different segments, because I think all those guys that pitted on lap 40, they might be close to making it. So you never know. You'll have fresher tires for the duration of the race. So it's going to get real interesting if this stays green.
And it looks like here's the first taker, the 5 of Turner, sideways on the brakes, and was able to keep it together, almost directly faced the inside wall there near the Sunoco sign. But car number 5 is in. First member of the old tire group now is going to head on to pit road, and how will that affect everyone else who has stayed out as far as 42 laps on this stint? Cabot will be the next one to strike should he make this decision. Jordan Black settling into second, Connor Berry rounding out the current top 3. This is going to be big here for the 17 and company, as Cabot way loose out of turn 4.
Yeah, those tires are pretty close to gone on the Adam Cabot machine, so I imagine he's going to pit here in the next couple laps. But Bailey Turner's going to come out pit road here shortly, as it's like he's going to basically be in the 5th position. He'll lose a few more spots as they're finally passing him, but great job by those guys. They treaded enough water, and now they're going to be the ones that are going to be on the attack, because they're going to have 20 lap pressure tires than everyone that pitted on lap 45. So that's where they're going to make up the time. So it's basically, it's kind of like a, what would you call it? Like a slinky. One side's always trying to catch up to the other, and they're eventually going to just close in on each other, and then just basically just change positions until suddenly you're at the bottom of the staircase with the slinky.
I really like that reference. I love that reference. That's, people with the slinkies as a kid, that's no joke,
Oh, yeah, big fan of the slinky. I mean, it's historic, as we have a couple guys coming down pit road. But, that's a really good. I mean, I can't think of anything else that would compare it to, because, you have one group that's extending a lead, and then another group that's pushing past them to extend a lead of their own, but then they fall back behind them, and then, I think it's the perfect reference.
See, that's why I love having you in the booth, because you bring a lot of fun into the broadcast, and me, my boring self would have just said a pendulum, right? Or how it swings just back and forth between the first and the second group. But that's not as fun as a slinky pulling it down the stairs. As here's Joey Padgett making the move inside for second on Connor Berry.
So we'll see how these guys come out. We'll look at, I'm basically looking at Bailey Turner and Adam Cabot side by side. And last time by, Bailey Turner ran a 32.7. The guys that are leading right now that have still not pitted are running close to 34.5. So Bailey's at least going to make those positions back up. But, kind of compare him to, someone that had stayed out or pitted on lap 45, like versus Cole Cabry. He's running 33.5s. So if you go back to Bailey, he's running about a second faster than them. So as you have Connor Berry coming down pit road here, it's a big, fast chess game going on right now.
There's the 2-time iRacing Off-Road World Championship driver. The champ, actually, as he just overcooked the entrance to his pit stop. We've seen that a lot here so far tonight. Over this green flag pit stop strategy, lead will change to Jordan Black in the 14, Joey Padgett, Joshua Slate. Now your current top 3, all of them eclipsing 46 laps on the stint. Joshua Slate back in third was way out of shape. He's moved to second, as there is Joey Padgett in the 83, making his second stop of the night.
Yeah, he was all over the place, wasn't he?
So just way out of shape out of turn 4. And Josh Slade almost about wrecked the Chevrolet. He stays behind Jordan Black for now, as the 14 will stay out for another lap. Looks like Josh Slade will let Connor Berry through. He'll try to slow this car down, but looks like he'll stay way up on the high side at the exit of 4. He'll stay out here with 67 laps to go here in this Next Level Racing 200 from the virtual Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. Now this February, we've got a very special event returning for its 6th edition. The 6th annual Podium 500 kicks off this February. We've got a lot of excitement for you there. And Dylan, this is always a big event in sim racing every time you come across to the new year. There's a lot of anticipation for all of the entries so far. We've got a lot of entries so far for 2024's edition of the Great American Race in Sim for the Podium 500. That's going to be a lot of fun when we kick it off February 11th. We'll have all of the excitement for all the drivers that get to make the 40-car field, as there comes Josh Slate in for his pit stop.
I will say this is the fun time of year for not only real racing but sim racing. Of course, they've really scaled down the speed weeks. In real life, it's basically speed week now. But you know, you have around the end of this month, you have the 24 hours of Daytona, and then it's like you have 2 weeks of build up to take you to Daytona as the leader's coming down pit road, Jordan Black. But you know, around this time of year, this is like a sim racer's dream, because you know Daytona's coming up. All the big events are happening now, especially the Podium 500 that's coming up. But you have to be salivating if you're someone that likes to compete in high-level races like this one.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great point, Dylan. You've got, of course, I mean, the Roar before the 24, that happened recently. The Chili Bowl happened recently on the sim as well. Then you've got the iRacing Daytona 24, which that's always a lot of fun. I don't know if you're going to be driving in that, Dylan, but I know I am, because that's always a lot of fun to gather a bunch of friends together, or fellow competitors, teammates, if you will, and just get on for 24 hours and have a boatload of fun. As there's our new leader, Colin Fern, rather, in the number 96. Still yet to pit, as Cole Cabry has gotten to second place with his teammate Chase right behind him in third. And then you've, of course, got the iRacing Daytona 500. And then as you move forward into the next couple of months, you, of course, have the start of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. You know, Pesk is coming back soon enough. Then you've got the iRacing Indianapolis 500 that's coming back after the announcement that IndyCar has finally recoupled with iRacing after a while of separation. So it's just a boatload of excitement that you've got in the first, 4 or 5 months of 2024. As here comes Fern, hopping on the brakes. He'll head for pit road this time.
Yeah, it's an eclectic buffet of sim racing coming up here over the next 2.5 months. But you mentioned, you know, you're running the Daytona 24. I have not ran in it since I ran it solo a couple years ago for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Yeah, I raised over, it was over $1,000 for them. And, you know, when I first thought about doing it, I was like, yeah, it's not a bad idea. It could be fun. You know, about 6 hours in, I'm like, okay, it's no big deal. And then I look outside, and because I did the smart thing. I ran the 7 p.m. one that way, just go 24 hours and then go right to sleep. Well, when the sun comes up twice, you know, in sim and then in real life, that's where I like, man, I didn't even want to see iRacing for like a week after that. But it was real rewarding. But yeah, a lot of big events coming up, including Podium 500.
Yeah, and also, too, I mean, that has to be the same feeling of, like, running the Moon Car 24 by yourself, which drivers have done before, right? I think Presley Sora tried it, a 24-hour stint. Yeah, Presley did it in the Moon Car 24 this past year, 2023. So it's like just running consecutively 24 hours by itself. I don't know how he did that. I don't think I could stomach that amount of time just behind a computer screen, just still whipping the race car without taking a lot of breaks. But speaking of the race lead with 61 laps to go, Bailey Turner has gone by Cole Cabry for the top spot, and we questioned him in just how long was too long for those on fresh tires. Dylan, well, it looks like the answer is it was perfect timing. After all, the 5-car to the race lead with 15-lap fresher tires.
Yeah, he's running about a full second faster than both of the Cabrys are, so this is where it's going to come into play. Bailey Turner pitted on lap 60. Then you look at both the Cabrys pitted on lap 45. So that gap has closed a little bit. It went from 18-lap fresher tires to now 15-lap fresher tires. But Cole and Chase weren't able to make enough ground. So I think Bailey played this perfectly, where he had enough of a gap built up where he could go a few extra laps and have them burn their tires up more, and then he could make up the difference.
Really, the only drivers that have been able to get the benefits of this strategy are, of course, the race leader, Bailey Turner. Here's Adam Cabot swooping in to third place over Chase Cabry in the 39, and Connor Berry, the Menifee, California native, who settled into 9th at this moment with the fresher tires and is just getting around Nick Olson and Presley Sora to move up to 7th. So you don't have a lot of the guys who pitted later in this race having the benefits of this run, but with 59 laps to go, it is a great place to be if you're Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot, and Connor Berry. 2 of those, of course, playoff drivers. This will be the best first race of this second round as they try to charge for a 2024 Monday Night Racing Season 7 Championship. The 5 of Bailey Turner up front for now, 75 laps through of the Next Level Racing 200. We'll step away for a moment, but you won't miss any of the coverage of playoff action here from Kentucky.
264 drivers entered with a shot at $1,000.
Driver sideways, that is Daniel Holloway at the exit of turn 4.
Cars in the wall, it's checkers or records. No caution flags allowed as they wreck towards the back of the pack. Mr. McQueen, Casey Kerwin to the line. He wins the podium 500.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway. Coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series playoffs is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. Since 1986, Highland Homes Roofing has been the #1 company you can trust for all of your roofing needs. To learn more about their services, go to highlandhomesroofing.com. And by Mach10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions, and where innovation meets creativity. Just around 51 laps to go here from the Bluegrass State in our coverage of the Next Level Racing 200. Welcome back to the coverage here on Podium Esports. Kenneth Bueno and Dylan Connolly with you in the booth. Eddie Smith, our producer tonight, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And boy, what a swing we've had, Dylan, in strategy. We've separated this field basically in half between the guys who pitted after the first yellow and those who had stayed out. We have seen the highs and lows of this strategy come about. It looks like it's all high right now for Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot, and Connor Berry. So far on the freshest tires of the field as the 5-car leads them to the last 50 laps here from Kentucky in what's been a very strategy-filled afternoon in sim.
Yeah, I kind of saw a race like this breaking out when I watched them in practice, and they were all just loose everywhere. A few people were complaining about the setup. I knew this was going to happen, but I didn't think it would be this much separation. But the big thing that happened was there was just enough there after that wreck from Mario Miranda. There was just enough strategy involved where it was going to make this race even more exciting than I thought it was going to be, even though it was caution free. Because now you have guys that are on basically, well, now it's 15, but you had guys that were on 20 lap old or newer tires at the start of this race, and now they're playing catch up. So now, again, like you mentioned, essentially two halves of the field going on. One half has got 20 lap fresher tires. The other one is going to need to pit again. The first half, you never know. They might be able to make it to the end.
And also with the way that Turner, Cabot, and Barry have been able to structure their strategy in a ways to avoid, number one, being a lap down for so long, but then number two, just being able to swiftly get by the competition and keep their track position too. That's the biggest goal that you want to have if you're pinning later, is just salvage track position, or at least be able to have enough to gain over the long run. With Turner, Cabot, and Barry putting themselves in this situation, and this is nicely put for the rest of this race, whether we have a caution or not. Of course, we still have, if we stay green, 48 laps left. We've got enough in the tank for at least one more full cycle between these two groups. Now, if you're looking at the Cabry brothers, Cole and Chase back in third and fourth, are you a bit surprised by the way that Turner, Cabot, and Barry have been able to sort of flip the strategy around a bit?
Not really, because I think they're good to go for the rest of the way. So everyone that pitted on lap 45, I think, is going to have to drive more conservatively and stretch their tires at least longer if they want to not have to pit one more time. But I think all the guys that pitted on lap 60 to 65, I think they're good to go the rest of the way. I really do, but I don't have the calculator out in front of me, but there's a big difference between 15 lap newer and 15 lap older tires.
Yeah, it's looking like they're basically at the edge of the fuel window as we come across 46 laps to go. So from here on out, it looks like fuel is concerned, unless drivers take different amounts of fuel on their respective pit stops just to lessen the amount of time they're on pit road, losing time on track. You've got everybody basically good enough to make it all the way to the end. And it's not really a conversation about fuel, it's about the tires. Here's Barry creeping up on Chase Cabry, who was loose out of turn 2 with the Menifee, California native, the off-road champion on the iRacing off-road scene. Been able to move to the inside. Looks like he'll try and break the 39's defense, as there's the bright yellow number 51 not too far in the distance, getting around Mark Rebillis, who's a lap down in 17th.
That's the other thing outside of who was it earlier? Steve Offot, who had a little incident earlier, and Brett Baldick, who both left the race. We still have 21 of the 23 starters in the race so far. We have a bunch lap down, and I think they might take the wave if there happens to be a caution. But I think they're rooting for there to be another caution of this race. Guys like Monon Raman, Ford Martin, DJ Cummings, Matt Stallnick, Mark Rebillis, Gary Sexton, and Christopher Tate are all one lap down. But everyone else, I think their bed's kind of made right now.
So you look at Barry, going to be able to get by Chase Cabry for the 4th spot here at lap number 90. And there's a look back at Bailey Turner, who's approaching Ford Martin and DJ Cummings. Now, this is going to be big for the cars 20th and 21st, because they're going to fall 2 laps down here to the leaders, and also big for the 5. Much like the last run, Dylan, he has to worry about the 17 once again. We might have a close, contentious battle for the top spot here, entering 45 laps to go. Cabot has a big run entering turn 1. He'll back off here, but a higher entry to the first corner might get him a nice exit out of turn 2 as he tries to arc it down, and he's sideways in the middle of the corner.
This could be something else that comes into play here. You have Connor Berry, Jordan Black, Joey Padgett, all these guys that are about roughly 10 seconds behind them. But if Bailey, Turner, and Adam Cabot get to fight, they will have fresher tires, but they're going to burn their stuff up a lot quicker. So they might be kind of waging a war against each other, but allowing others to join in them as well over the course of these last 40 or so laps. As it got a little close, there's Adam Cabot. Looks like he might be clear of the Bailey Turner machine here off of 2.
Turner was trying to fight back, but car number 17, Adam Cabot, to the point, entering 41 laps to go. Next time through, both of the Cabry brothers, Cole and Chase, entered pit road around a lap ago. There they are, exiting the lane and trying to merge back at the exit of turn 2. So it looks like their run for the moment has come to a close, and they'll wait for everyone else to come down a little bit later. Looks like the only other driver on their strategy near side is Presley Sora, who's running in position number 6. So it looks like for everyone else, they're on that relatively newer tire strategy that is now transitioning to be the old rubber as everyone else creates this cycle. Now, really the question is, Dylan, if these guys on the older tires now, how close are they really going to cut it for these guys who just came in at this moment in time? Just because, you know you're good on fuel, but you want to be okay on tires enough that once you cycle out, you'll have enough in the tank to get through the traffic in front and be able to cycle out ahead of everyone else. So you don't have a lot of time left.
Well, that's the million-dollar question there, Kenneth. I mean, the only way we're going to find out, as we're going to see, is, oh my goodness, looks like Gary Sexton got really loose behind Bailey Turner. But Gary Sexton's got fresher tires. He's in 10th place right now. He's just passing Bailey Turner right here. My goodness, they're getting awful close. But Bailey, I think he might have clipped the wall or something, because there's something that just seems really off about that car. He had a big lead, and then he didn't have a big lead, and now he's running in second place. And by a lot of the numbers, he's one of the slower cars on the track right now.
Yeah, the lap times certainly agree with you there. 34.591 for Turner last time they crossed the stripe. In comparison to the race leader, Cabot dropped to 34.267. Even then, Jordan Black behind in third dropped to 34 flat. Joey Padgett with a 34.2. Then the only other car in the 34.5 range is Connor Berry, rolling in 5th place. So it looks like for Turner, just using up the tires a little too much over the run has allowed car number 17 to break out by 9/10 and about a second as we get closer to eclipsing lap number 100. Now, the next car we should expect to head for pit road is Presley Sora in the 98. He'll hop on the brakes out of turn 4. Looks like the Indiana native is coming in. So here comes Sora to end his run. And now, really, Dylan, it's about the waiting game. Just seeing who comes in earlier than later and what time striking is the best.
I really think if you see anyone inside this top 10 or inside these top 8 pit, that's going to raise a lot of red flags to everyone else in the top 10. So if a guy like Presley Sora, who's down pit road right now, that's going to raise a lot of red flags for everybody that's kind of close in the field there. I think Adam Cabot and Bailey Turner are probably aware of this, but the other thing is, the way it's trending now, I think everyone's going to have to pit at least one more time, other than Presley Sora, who's come down pit road now. But do you try to undercut somebody here? And, Bailey Turner, let's say he pits on lap 100. I mean, how long does Adam Cabot wait? So there's a whole lot of dominoes that are just lined up and ready to fall here over the next 35 laps.
It sort of reminds me, Dylan, of getting out of your house to anywhere you're going, whether it's school, work, or just any destination you have in mind, and just thinking, if I leave earlier, am I going to avoid the heavy traffic? If I go later, am I going to avoid the heavy traffic? What's really the decision there? It's sort of a back and forth thing that you're thinking about as these guys who are remaining on track, and of course those who have just come in, how the timing is really going to ripple affect everything else in this race. We're staring down at an opportunity to get into the championship four, or at least have some headway there, as here comes one of the drivers in. It's second place Bailey Turner.
All right, so that tells me all I need to know. So you can't make it the rest of the way, as I've just gone through a couple Google Docs of information I had, but Bailey Turner is the first one to come down pit road, and you know what? I think he's in the bird dog seat right now, because he's going to be able to make up a lot of time in a lot of these guys that are kind of around the same position he is, but he's also going to be able to make up time with Adam Cabot, because we've seen that fresher tires compared to about where they're at now is going to be about a second and a half faster, and Bailey was only about a second behind Adam, so all he needs is about 2 or 3 laps at full song, and he'll basically leapfrog him.
So this decision by himself, Bailey Turner gambling on this cycle here, as Connor Berry looks like in the 0-2 from 3rd place. He's in as well. We're staring down everybody in the top 5 or so, whether they're going to come in sooner than later. This is the ballpark estimate. You can go down on about 33 or so laps, being able to hold out where you are. And here comes the 17. Cabot hops on the binders. He's entering pit road for his last stop.
So we'll have to see. I think this could be your race for the win right here, is how these two shake out at pit road right now, because they're going to be on essentially even tires right now, because everybody behind them is going to pit. And I think, if you have to wait till lap 110 to pit, you're going to run out of time.
And everyone's pitting now. Jordan Black in the 14 to look on board with him. The Florida driver, he's in. Looks like Colin Fern is going to stay out about an extra lap, but Josh Slate back and forth. He's entered the pit lane. Christopher Tate's going to stay out, and you've got a couple other drivers until you get to those who just recently pitted Cole and Chase Cabry before you really get any results from those who are cycling out. As there's the 17, quick stop at 14.4 seconds. He's out in 4th. Everybody will get past 4 now, but the key is here, Decon, just avoiding being lapped by the leaders. It looks like they have done a nice job of staying on the lead lap. Turner and Cabot 6th and 7th as they cycle out.
That's a big thing, is they built equity. You know, they had a big difference in tires, about a 15-lap difference, so they were able to have a 10-second lead over everyone behind them. That's Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot. So when they came down pit road, you know, they were already starting their service when they were getting passed. So it's not like they lost a whole lot of time. So unless they had some massive mess up on pit road, they were going to stay on the lead lap. So I think it's either going to be Bailey Turner or Adam Cabot that's going to win this race at this point, as long as there's not a caution.
And as long as nobody puts out a different strategy that could alter the entire effect of this race, I'd imagine Colin Fern will be one of those, but looks like car number 96 has taken his Chevrolet into pit road. Christopher Tate and Gary Sexton, they're the next to come down to pit road, but it looks like they're already getting past. Cole Cabry in the 51 is through, and Bailey Turner might be the next one on the docket. So there's the 49er Chevrolet swooping on the high side and will catch up to this bright yellow 51. They're getting up to Tate. This is for the race lead. 51 underneath. Bailey Turner behind in turn 3. And there goes Turner through to the inside.
God, it's amazing how much of a difference that even 8-lap fresher tires are. Because Cole Cabry, who's always had really good pace all throughout the season, has had good pace today. He ran a 33.4, and Bailey had to weave through traffic, and he was still 0.5 of a second faster than him.
You also have to consider saving and wasting the tires. Turner has wasted his stuff over the last handful of runs. Cabot has been able to best him over the long stretches of laps. It looks like he gets around Gary Sexton. Look for Christopher Tate, who's still eyeing down an entrance to pit road at some point in this run. Just haven't been able to do it. Looks like he won't do it out of turn 4 this time through. So Cabot has Chase and Cole Cabry next up to defeat before he can get to his teammate inside 29 laps to go from Kentucky Speedway. Dylan, this is reminding me of a certain specific race a little bit earlier in this season. In December 4th, last race of the regular campaign, Gen 4's at Atlanta, where these two on strategy were the ones racing for the win, and the 17 got the upper hand. Does that change tonight as Cabot slips into 3rd?
No, whoever their strategist is a brilliant guy, because for them to have this happen, and I really think, unless there's a caution, and I'm knocking on my wooden desk right now, they're going to be 1-2. I just don't know what order. I think that if it goes green, Adam Cabot is going to have the advantage because he has just fresher tires than Bailey. But the other thing is he's got to play some catch-up. He's got about a 2-second gap between him and Bailey, and then there's a car he's got to maneuver around. Oh, my goodness, look what we did.
And there it is for the second time tonight. Caution flag out, and it looks like Mark Rabilis is the car to bring it out. The 99 went around in turns 1 and 2. And we've got a brand new race on our hands, Decon. And I was about to mention the last time we had a caution, you basically alley-ooped it to me like you were Dwayne Wade, and then I was LeBron James stuffing it home. This time, all you here in turns 1 and 2, Rabilis just getting stepped out, going sideways.
Yeah, that's really strange. You know, Mark had just pitted. He's on about 15-lap older tires, but that's just real strange. It looked like he just got a little too high, got up in the marbles there, and just lost it. But tried as good as he can to keep it off the wall, but he's got very minimal damage. He's got a little right front crinklage, but I think he'll be able to patch that up. But sucks is he's going to be the only car that's a lap down unless he decides to take the wave around here, because I imagine everyone's going to pit here soon.
Just looked like an awkward place on the racetrack as we were looking at the replay there.
Oh.
As here's Cole Cabry and Chase Cabry. Looks like Christopher Tate and some others will join a large line of cars entering pit road.
Well, put your thinking cap on now, Kenneth Bueno. There's 2 separate strategies again. It doesn't sound like a lot because these guys are pitting on lap 107. But we just saw at the end of that run how much of a difference even 8-lap fresher tires are. So this is going to get hairy over the last part of this race.
Well, think about it, too. There were only 3 sets of tires given to the drivers in tonight's race. all of those who stayed out have pitted tonight a total of 3 times. They have used all of their rubber available to them, so all of these guys who saved that extra set are now expending them here at lap 108, and this is going to be monumental in changing the complexity of this race.
I would have to imagine now, everyone that just pitted is going to be at a very severe advantage now compared to all these guys that stayed out, like Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot, Joey Paget, Connor Berry, Mark Corbillis, I think was trying to get the wave around, but these guys stayed out, so he's going to be the only car a lap down. Jordan Black, Colin Fern, Joshua Slate, everybody else is on a different strategy. In fact, Nick Olson is on a separate strategy of his own. I think he's going to come down pit road. He only took right side tires there, so I don't think he wanted to do that. So he's going to finish that off and get the left sides probably. But they're going to have to weed their way through a lot of cars to get up front to Bailey Turner and Adam Cabot. So that's the other thing. They probably, I think, if my math is correct, they've used their last set of tires, everyone that just pitted. So I think your guys like Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot, they're kind of banking on there might be another caution here, say with 10 to go. And then suddenly they'll have the tire advantage again. So this is going to get real. This is going to get real quick.
And that's a lot of reels. But for Turner, Cabot, and this main group here, I mean, you bring up a great point about if cautions come out, how that's going to equalize the strategy. And for the lead group, that's kind of what they need, right? I mean, you've got 25 laps. That's way more than enough time for the fresh tire cars to get through this first pack, which as it stands is only about, I'd say, 8 or so cars. Make that really 7 with Joshua Slate as the last one in that respective category. But as soon as you get yellows, that's where the tire advantage goes away. All those guys on fresh rubber, they go stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. They don't have a chance to fully unleash all the new grip that they have. But it's really going to be a toss-up on what exactly happens. There's only one other driver, too, as well, that did go for a 2-tire stop. That was Monin Rahman in the 44 at 9 seconds when he came down. Car number 44 is in position number 14. So this is going to be really big here inside the final 25 laps from Kentucky. And we were looking at a potential second-time battle between Bailey Turner and Adam Cabot. Well, it looks like they're not safe quite yet.
Well, if you have a seatbelt on or have anything, you can strap your monitor down. This is going to get real hairy. You want to strap down the big TV because this is going to get fun over the next 23 laps.
And again, this is all in the context of the MNR championship fight between 8 drivers. Turner and Adam Cabot, both of them on 2 sides of the bracket, both of them still trying to get that best foot forward if they want to advance to the championship. Next playoff driver then you look at is 6th place Colin Fern on 7-lap old tires, and then the Cabry brothers 8th and 9th before you get down to Ryan Vargas, and then of course you've got Joshua Slate in the middle there too, running in 7th place at the moment. So this is going to get huge between drivers on old tires, drivers on fresh rubber. How that will change tonight's first ever race at Kentucky Speedway for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital. Your top 10 as it stands: Turner, Cabot, Paget, Berry, Black, Fern, Slate, and then the 2 Cabrys 8th and 9th, and Christopher Tate in the 30 car, rounding up the first 10 that will see the green flag with 23 laps to go. Pace car is down, ready to get back underway in this next level racing 200 from Sparta, Kentucky. Turner up and away first, green flag in the air.
No big problems in the back. We got multiple cars spun out.
And it's Gary Sexton, Monin Rahman involved. Both of them traveled up the racetrack to the outside wall. Yellow is out before we get to turn 1.
When we look at the replay here, I think it's just a big accordion effect, as it looked like Ryan Vargas was on the top, and I think Monin was expecting Vargas to go, and he had to slam on the brakes, and it was just a big accordion effect. Mario Miranda, kind of the same thing that happened at the start of the race. You know, he was just getting antsy for everyone to go, and he got a little too antsy.
Looks like
same
they
thing
both
happened on the
stacked
bottom.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both stacked up. Sexton and Monin Rahman, both of them got checked up by everyone in front. And then the 41 and the 89 just got into the rear, lifted off the rear tires, and around they went. It looked like a synchronized spin between the two. And while that doesn't result in a lot of damage, they were going rather slow at the time of the incident. That is, of course, going to hurt their track position and probably flat spot their tires, too. Here's another look at it.
You know, I see two big winners from this, and that's Bailey Turner and Adam Cabot, because these laps are ticking away, and we're going to go green with probably around 17, 18 laps to go. So that's even less time for these guys that just took tires to try to weed their way through the field and catch up to those two. So if I'm Bailey Turner or Adam Cabot, I'm rooting for as many cautions as possible at the end of this race.
And you know the old saying, cautions do breed cautions. So it's just all about hoping and praying that the cautions are enough to stifle the advantage that everyone has behind them. And there wasn't really any time at all for those who on fresh tires to catch up. Cole Cabry only moved up maybe a spot or so over Joshua Slate, only up to 7th. But, you know, you don't have a lot of progress when you barely make it past to turn 1. So we'll see what happens. So far, though, the threat is not fully extinguished for those at the front that are still on their older set of Goodyear Eagles. Now, we talked about tonight's race at Kentucky being the first of 3 Gen 4 races we'll see over the next 4 outings. And next week, Dylan, we've got ourselves a barn burner. Every time we take the Mazda MX-5s to the Daytona Road Course, it is always an insane race from start to finish. We always have miraculous strategy come up to the front. And then, of course, the draft-packed racing that we see coming out of turn 4 to that trial. Next week is going to be wild as it gets, especially in the context of the championship.
Yeah, you know, if you watch those MX-5 races in real life, they're some of the most exciting races that you could watch. I remember there was a race that they had, I think it was last year, where it was essentially a 7 or 8 car battle off the backstretch chicane to the front stretch for the win. And I think the guy that was sitting in 8th ended up winning. So that, if it translates to how it drives in the sim, it's going to be, like you said, a barn burner. I can't wait for that one. And then you have Auto Club at Chicagoland. Those are going to be probably as fun as these have been.
Yeah, I can imagine, too. That's going to be right after this next race at Daytona Road Course. It's going to be right after the iRacing Daytona 24. And I imagine a lot of guys in MNR are probably racing that with any of their teammates or friends. So they're going to have a lot of experience just racing the course overall. When you put an MX-5 in there, I mean, just like it races in real life in the Mazda Cup, it is going to be a phenomenal race that'll have a lot of implications to it. And you look at as well, the finale race on February 5th at Chicagoland, that's going to be a banger. Last time we saw it was, I believe, in the summer series with this field, and that was a large amount of fun that we had there. Drivers all over the place, sideways, searching for grip all over the racetrack, 3-4 wide racing, you name it. It was so much fun to cover. And I can imagine once we get to that championship race at Chicagoland in Joliet, Illinois, that's also going to be a battle of the ages in MNR's final season. We're ready for a large battle, though, now inside 20 laps to go as we cross the line for lap 115. Looks like we'll go about an extra lap here before we get things ready to go at Kentucky Speedway. But for the moment, it's Bailey Turner in front, his teammate Adam Cabot on the outside of the front row, Joey Padgett and Connor Berry sitting 3rd and 4th calmly. Jordan Black in the top 5, Colin Fern on the outside in position number 6. Then Cole Cabry, Josh Slate, Chase Cabry, and Christopher Tate reset for the top 10 after our yellow. Dylan, what are the expectations here on this second restart?
Well, hopefully just make it to turn 1 this time. That's the low bar that I think a lot of them are setting. At least get past the start-finish line. But again, if you're Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot, you're really rooting for a lot of calamity in the back, because again, there's a lot of, I say a lot, there's about 4 or 5 rows of cars between them and the guys with fresh tires that are going to have to weed their way through here. And you never know, a guy like Joey Padgett or Connor Berry might try a desperation move. I say desperation, exciting move into turn 1 here. So it's not necessarily Bailey Turner and Adam Cabot are just head and shoulders ahead of everyone behind them.
And you've got strong drivers all around. Like you said, with Berry and Padgett, how good they've been all night long. Jordan Black, you can never really count him out. Any race that he's partook in this series, he's always been up front, challenging for top spots. And then, of course, you've got car number 51, first guy on fresh tires in Cole Cabry. And most importantly, for the Speed Factor Ford Fusion, he's on the inside. So he's got preferred destination when you think about the angles for each of the corners as we get to full song. It'll be 18 laps to go. This time by from Kentucky, Bailey Turner and Adam Cabot bring us back to the green flag in the Next Level Racing 200.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Look at the shuffling before turn 1.
Oh, they made it to turn 1 this time, but I believe that was Connor Berry that got a little squirrely on the restart, but they corralled it up as Bailey Turner's got about a half-second lead now as they go down the backstretch here.
And Corey Deucer trapped in the middle, 3 wide. Now here comes the 14 of Black in the middle, 3 wide between Barry and Cole Cabry. And there's Chase right behind. It is stacking up severely here in 3 and 4. And traffic time is at the utmost high. It'll be 17 laps to go. And both Cabrys are stuck in this congestion. Still 3 wide, back to turn 1.
So far, so good up here through the top 3. Look at Colin Fern. Colin Fern's that guy we never talk about until like 10 or 15 laps to go every week, and he just appears up front most of the time.
Just a clutch gene that has allowed him to visit the championship floor more than once in this series as Cole Cabry splits the difference between Paget and Jordan Black, and that got miraculously close and almost could have been disastrous for the Florida driver.
Well, it's go time now, so you look at Colin Fern. Colin Fern just set the fastest lap of the race that last time by. So I think Colin Fern's in attack mode now as he's all over the back end of Adam Cabot as they go down to turn 3. Man, Colin Fern's driving like a man on a mission.
We haven't really seen him up front all race long apart from the cycle on strategy, but the 96 is pulling out all of the stops now. A look on board with Ryan Vargas, one of those drivers who just came in on pit road, almost got tank slapped by Paget coming off the corner. And the Cabry brothers right now, Decon, surprisingly aren't making that much progress. They are faster than the 4 up front, sure, but not by much.
You know, I think with the heat cycles the way that they were, I think the longer this run goes, the more it'll hurt these guys up front. If they keep having these short little runs, I think that they'll be able to at least tread water with the guys behind them. But again, there's so much battling going on that everyone's kind of just pulling on the same rope in different directions.
And you can imagine, too, if you're both Bailey Turner and Adam Cabot, you are praying to the racing gods that Jordan Black and Colin Fern give the Cabrys a fight for their money, because as many times as you keep them either side by side or behind you as a driver, you're going to slow them down, even if they do have a tire advantage. But here comes Cabot unleashing the pass for the race lead in turn 3.
Oh, this is going to get good, Kenneth Bueno, as Adam washes up the track a little bit. Bailey's going to have the run here. Colin Fern has showed up into the picture. Is he going to try to make it 3 wide here? I don't think he's going to be able to get there, but Adam Cabot not quite clear of Bailey Turner, and he still won't be, at least until turn 1 and 2. He can go up if he wants to, and he's got Bailey Turner cleared, but, I mean, this is a gaggle of cars. I mean, Adam Cabot's going to want to run away and hide right here as Colin Fern is having a fight against Cole Cabry to his inside and Bailey Turner on the high side.
This is about a 6-car duel for the top spot here at Kentucky. Cabot's onboard look just sees the mess behind him. Turner gets turned around by the 51 of Cole Cabry, and it looks like that will bring out the yellow. Actually, that was Colin Fern that got into the 5-car heading off of turn 4, but Bailey Turner gets the worst end of it and brings out the yellow with 12 to go.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, there was just not enough room there. That's all that it was. And, you know, Colin Fern's got damage now. He hit the wall. Cole Cabry's got damage. Bailey Turner, there's a couple guys that got damage here, but they still have quick repairs that they could use at their disposal. So they'll be able to get this. And, you know, Adam Cabot still has a set of Goodyear Eagles in the pit box. So it's not necessarily the end of the world for him.
Here's another look at it. Colin Fern with a big run out of 4, and you can see just for a moment rising out of the corner, Decon, the 5-car just wiggles a bit. He chases it up the track, so he's basically off the gas pedal, just trying to keep this Gen 4 car straight. And that little hiccup is what allows the 96 to get right to the rear bumper, enough to lift up the rear tires and send him around. And here's a look from Turner's on board. Yeah, there's the wiggle.
Yeah, that again, it looked like just a racing incident. You know, Bailey was trying to chase it. Colin was there. And well, interestingly enough, Bailey Turner's going to stay out. So Turner's going to stay out. We had Nick Olson, Gary Sexton, Christopher Tate, Joshua Slate, Colin Fern come down. I think he took his quick repair and a set of 4 tires. So there's a lot that's still to be decided here, as we're going to probably restart with less than 8 or so to go.
And props to our producer, Eddie Smith, for getting that look on the 51, because if you see the front end of his Ford Fusion, it is damaged. It's sort of the same look as what Mario Miranda had earlier in this race before we dropped the green flag. Cole Cabre was directly in the path of that spin by Bailey Turner. Now, how big of an effect will that have for Cole Cabre in the rest of this race?
Anyone that's still on the lead lap, I think, could go win this race. I mean, we still got 21 on the lead lap. Nick Olson's back on the lead lap along with Mark Rabillas. So you've got 21 guys that are still on the lead lap on all different kinds of strategies, but I think it's really going to be dependent on who takes tires the latest with enough time. Because you look at this, and I'm just, as the telemetry is sorting itself out, you know, Colin Fern's going to restart 17th, and he's been very stout so far in this race, pretty much all season. So he's going to have to try to find ways to get around 16 cars in about 8 regulation laps, or heck, we could have more. But there's still a lot to be decided here, and you have Adam Cabot up front, as there's no wiggle room now, as both the Cabres who have fresher tires are going to be next to him and behind him over this final restart.
Well, at this point, track position is really what matters, and that's why you're seeing Cole Cabre not come in, Bailey Turner not come in. Fern is just taking this gamble with the set of tires that he had remaining, but to get around the amount of cars he needs to, 16 in the last 10 laps, might just be a tall order. We have seen it before out of Fern. If you look at the Next Gens at Atlanta a couple of seasons ago, which was one of the last races before the championship 4, he punched his ticket via a fresh tire call in green-white checkered territory. He had to make up a lot of spots. Don't know if he can do the same now as his race whittles down, but it will get really close if he's able to pull it off. We'll cross the line for 9 laps to go. Should be a restart within 8 remaining here in Sparta, Kentucky. Adam Cabot, the current race leader, over Cole Cabre. Chase Cabre will have the inside look in row number 2. Jordan Black will flank him on the outside. Then Ryan Vargas back to top 5 territory after starting tonight in 11th. Bailey Turner, who went around for our recent caution, is still in the game. He'll have position number 6 locked up as we get back to the green flag. Joey Padgett and Corey Deucer will be 7th and 8th when we get this restart going. Presley Sora has found his way to the top 10 in 9th after starting this race in 18th. And Matt Stolnick, who has been hanging around all night long, is in top 10 territory, the last one in that group. Still tire differences between the front runners and those around him sprinkled in the top 10. But with the caution that just came up with Bailey Turner getting spun out of turn 4, how much difference will that make for the race leaders than everyone around the pack? There's a couple of onboard looks, one from Cole Cabre, getting his car set and ready to go for this restart. Inside 8 to go. There's Ryan Vargas from 5th. And we'll have a look at Adam Cabot and Cole Cabre side by side as the pace car makes that left to pit road for what might be the final time in tonight's Next Level Racing 200. It's 4 playoff drivers inside the top 5 to the green flag, and we'll get ready for it now in the chase to turn 1. A good start by car number 17, the 39 of Chase Cabre goes underneath his brother in the bout for second.
One thing that's really going to hurt Cole Cabre, he has a lot of front end damage I don't think he knows about. So that's really going to hurt his aerodynamics, and that's going to hold up all these guys back here. Someone's getting pushed all the way to the apron in the back.
And they're 3 wide around where Bailey Turner is, stuck in the middle. He breaks free of Joey Padgett and Matt Stolnick. Meanwhile, Colin Fern on the fresh rubber is up to 12th. It'll be 7 laps to go with Cabot up front by 2/10.
I have to imagine that's really going to hurt Cole Cabre's car, but he's hanging tough there. He's got a lot of front end damage, but I think that's going to hold up a lot of people behind him, and that's going to make this a whole lot easier for Adam Cabot.
Now, the last time through, Cole was a little slower at a 34.6 in comparison to Cabot's 34.4. They're 3 wide inside the top 5. There's Jordan Black on the top side, Ryan Vargas trapped in the middle, and Corey Deucer, driver who's been silent but effective all race long. We're still 3 abreast entering turn 1.
Look at the run that Chase Cabre just got through 1 and 2. He made up about 0.3 of a second, and now he's all over Adam Cabot here out in the back straightaway.
Big run by the Tampa, Florida driver. Can he unleash a potential pass for the race lead, heading to 5 laps to go. He was about to give Cabot the bumper. He fixed it down to the inside of turn 4.
Trouble in the back.
Not going to have it, and trouble in the back. Joey Paget, Monin Ramen involved. It looks like just Joey Paget in the 83.
Well, Kenneth Bueno, you know what this is going to lead to?
Green-white checkered.
Yeah, you can throw all the strategy out the window now because you got to go as hard as you can for 2 laps as you look at the Joey Paget machine. Lovely. I love that Jack Daniels scheme. Always a fan. As you're going to go down to turn 3 with Joey Paget and just kind of lost it and spun out in front of everybody. It was just a 1-car accident, so that's why we're under our 4th caution of the day.
Well, we know that the Jack Daniels machine of Joey Paget, not a big fan of this incident. You see him get hit right there by Christopher Tate, the development driver for 3F Racing, spinning the 83 around. And you're right, Decon, it really started with the 83 getting out of shape, just chased it down the hill into the 98 of Sora. And boy, these cars were all clumped together behind Bailey Turner. It was not looking good at all. Just a real sketchy entry into 3 and 4. All these cars really close together. And right there is where it all unfolds.
Yeah, one big thing, again, with this car is, you know, you can kind of bump and grind and hit each other like, you know, even the super late model, the truck, Xfinity, the Cup car, a lot of other cars on iRacing. In this, if you even think about bumping someone, it's going to lift them off of the earth and spin them out. I mean, it's a real finicky and real touchy car here. So that's one thing that you've seen all night. You know, we had a lot of issues on the restart, even the start of the race on pit road, just because, you know, one little bump and you're lifting the rear end of that car off the ground because the bumpers don't match up.
Yeah, it's a really interesting case that you have, not only with this Gen 4, but with the ARCA Menard Series cars, just with the way they're built. You don't have those bumpers align, and with every other stock car, you can hit somebody on the rear bumper, and it really won't turn them around unless you hit them with enough force, or you're right alongside one of their quarter panels on the left or right. But with this car, I mean, you just dig straight into the bumper. Car in front has no control, and it's happened multiple times tonight. It's given us a bulk of the cautions other than Mark Rabilis and Mario Miranda spinning by themselves. A lot of the contact has been front end to rear end in their collisions. But let's talk again about Chase Cabre. Decon, you brought it up there on the recent run to this caution flag as we enter 3 to go in green-white checkered territory, technically here from Kentucky. The big run that Chase Cabre got was not to be unnoticed and tried to make the move for the race lead. And now he's got a shot at the race win here in our first attempt at overtime.
Yeah, that's about to get really fun, Kenneth Bueno, because now you have Cole Cabre, who's in 3rd place, who he's still unaware of that damage, and I think that really hurt him. Now you have essentially the leader of both of these sets of strategies, 1-2 right now.
So it is going to be a lot of fun. To correct myself there, this is technically not the first overtime restart. This is going to be an organic green-white checkered run to the finish. We'll go racing with 2 laps to go here from Kentucky. Boy, has this race changed a lot. We had a flag-to-flag affair. What appeared, we had some cautions in the middle, but we had a long strategy race building up, and it has turned into an absolute brawl to the checkered flag. Adam Cabot aiming at what will be a win that will get him to first on the all-time wins list in MNR. And then you've got Chase Cabre, who's looking for his 3rd career victory and trying to get one that'll set him nicely up for the Championship 4 race in a couple of weeks. The 17 and the 39 see Barney the flagman for the green flag, 2 to go.
Good launch by Adam Cabot there going into turn 1. He's going to have a lot of room here for Chase Cabre to make up as Cole's looking on the inside of him, and Ryan Vargas has stepped into the picture here down the backstretch.
Wiggles a bit at the exit of 2. He's faced against a 51, and that might do it for those guys' chances at getting to the race win. The 39 holds fort behind the 17. Big run in 3 and 4. He's sideways. We enter the white flag lap.
Yeah, the race is official, or is it? As they're wrecking in the back, and they're going to stay green, as there's a big wreck, about 2 or 3 cars, they're side by side into 1 and 2.
One car sideways and around. That was the 30 of Christopher Tate in this fight for the last lap between the 39 and the 17. Not decided. Final charge for turns 3 and 4. Cabot will give it all he's got. He'll stay hooked up to the 39, but it might not be enough. The 39 of Chase Cabry will hold serve out of 4. Drag race to the line, and the Tampa, Florida native of Chase Cabry back to victory lane from Kentucky.
Oh my goodness, we got one in the air on at the start-finish line. I think it was Presley soar across the start-finish line 10 feet in the air, but excellent job by Chase Cabry to come back in that one.
That is Cabry's third career Monday Night Racing victory and his first since the super late model race at Richmond last season. As we'll take another look at what happened behind them. That was Presley Sora getting hooked at the last lap. That is going to be huge decon as he goes way up in the air to the start-finish line. Sora finished in 11th. And that car severely torn up.
Yeah, he was flying through the air. That is not good. Famous words of Ricky Bobby. But yeah, what an outstanding win for Chase Cabry. He was the leader of that other strategy that started the race, and he just had to be patient, and it finally paid off.
It's his first win of the season after lots of trials and tribulations. Got comfortable in all of the races in the regular season. And despite the rough start, Cabry is able to build another potential championship campaign. And this is going to lead him in the right direction heading into the Daytona Road Course. Chase Cabry, winner for the first time in Season 7. Third career MNR victory as he burns it down here from the Bluegrass State. We'll try and get you the unofficial results of tonight's Next Level Racing 200 as Cabry heads right to victory lane here in Kentucky. It's the 39 with the victory tonight over Adam Cabot. Really close fight in the last 2 laps for the race victory. His brother Cole Cabry ends up in 3rd place. So we'll continue the consistency throughout the playoffs this season. Jordan Black in the 14 car, you can never count him out, ends up as 4th place at the checkered flag after starting in 17th at the drop of the green. Big movement up for the 14 tonight. Ryan Vargas with a nice finish inside the top 5. Colin Fern had a strategy call that could have worked if he had more time. He finishes exactly where he started tonight's race. That is 6th place. Matt Stonick with a great 7th place effort. Mario Miranda recovers from opening race struggles to get into 8th. Nick Olson, who was really quiet all night long, hung around in the back, was able to get a 9th place finish. And rounding out the top 10, probably one of the favorites for tonight's race after halfway, Bailey Turner, not able to see all of his work be fruitful at the end.
Got a feel for Bailey Turner. Back on through the rest of the field, 11th position. Presley Sora finished about 10 feet in the air when he crossed the start-finish line. Gary Sexton, 12th position. Joey Paget, 13th. Connor Berry started 4th, finished 14th. Corey Deucer finishing 15th. Ford Martin, kind of a quiet night, finishing 16th. Monon Raman, P17. Joshua Slate in P18. Mark Rabillas, who got the last lucky dog, finishing P19th. DJ Cummings was involved in that last wreck, finishing in P20th. And then the rest of these guys, they had earlier issues. We had Christopher Tate, who finished in 21st position, 2 laps down. Brett Baldeck had early issues, finishing 22nd, 66 laps down. Steve Offant finishing 82 laps down, and he will round out the field. And then there's Joey Paget Sucks there in 24th, did not start the race.
What a name that is. Sucks as the last name. But that concludes our field here tonight from Kentucky Speedway. And now we join Chase Cabry in victory lane for the first time this season. And Chase, we had talked to you earlier in the campaign about the early struggles this season, about the IR01 race in Indianapolis, and just the way that you found a lot of bad luck on your way to the checkered flag most of the time. But ever since, you've been able to ride a high that we haven't seen in a while. A lot of consistent top 3s, top 5s, top 10s, and now tonight you get your first win after a while. How good does it feel to finally climb that mountain and be a winner, especially in the opening race of the second round in the playoffs?
Oh yeah, it feels good. I was just talking about it. I feel like last week in the late models, like I felt I did a good job of conserving tire, and then I felt as if I got beat on strategy because Cole and I were pretty similar on speed, and I had got the better of him in the early going on tires, and so I felt like I got beat on strategy there, and then I really thought I was going to get beat again tonight on strategy. Um, Cole and I stuck to the same strategy all night long, pitted the exact same time, and kind of paced each other. And so yeah, and then we start going and going. I'm like, we need a caution. Like, how do we lose out on strategy every freaking week? And then, sure enough, we get the yellow, and I was so pumped. And then Cole got damaged with the wreck with Turner and Fern, so it let me, kind of get into second. And then we get a green white checkered, and I knew it was going to be a battle, but it was good. Adam's always a good, clean racer and fun to race around. He'll race you clean, and that makes you give him respect right back. So glad to come out on top for the first time this season. I feel like we've had a good string of top threes, as you said. So keep the momentum rolling. Next week's going to be an absolute, I guess you could say, gamble all night long. But we'll see how it goes.
I was about to bring that up. The reaction that you had as soon as that caution flew with Mark Rubilis to put you all together. What goes through your mind though in those last two laps? You're thinking possibly an overtime restart if another yellow flies. Strategy has certainly gone in your favor, but it was still maybe up in the air just based on the stop and go nature of the end of the race. What are you thinking in that charge for the last two laps, and how do you approach that pass that you made on Adam Cabot at the white flag?
Yeah, so the caution comes out, right, with about 25 to go, and everybody in my Discord, which is Corey, Deucer, Cole, and I were all, yes, yeah, we got it. It's over. Like, we got it. And then we get caution after caution after caution, and you're only making 2, 3 spots up, and it allows their tires to continue to cool down and refire somewhat decently. If that thing goes green for those last 25 laps, I mean, it's over for them. Just because once their tires heat up, then their wear really shows. So, um, with the green white checkered, I knew it was going to be tough. And then Adam got away. And then once I rolled through 3 and 4, I got really tight. But I was like, I ain't saving. Obviously, we're going for it. So, I just kind of pushed through the tightness, and then I did get a run on him, which allowed me to get to his inside. And I knew we were all going to try to fight for that second lane, getting down into the corner. So I just had to kind of establish myself there. And Adam, like I said, he's a great racer and will race you clean. So it worked out finally. One of these strategy games finally worked into my favor.
And now we move forward to what you call the gamble. MX5's at Daytona Road Course. Obviously, the Gen 4s at Auto Club will close out the round and bring us to the Championship 4 finale at Chicagoland. I got to ask two questions here. Number one, how do you prepare for that race next week and just get your mindset for the rest of the round? But number two, how meaningful is it to get the race win in the first race of this round and just have a lot of momentum going into what is going to be a wild one next week?
Yeah, I mean, next week you got to put in practice because you got to be able to qualify. I believe like you need to qualify good because it will develop into 2 packs, and it can happen from the first lap. I mean, it can happen 10 laps in. It's going to happen where you end up with 2 packs. So you want to be in that front pack so that you're able to, you know, be in the mix and have a shot. And then strategy is super big with them. I came second last time we went there, so I'm gonna have to look back, see what I did for strategy. Cabot's really good at strategy with that race, so we'll have to, I'm gonna have to pay attention to what they did in the past. But like you said, it's a tough race. And you got to be smart. It doesn't pay off to be the leader, to be honest. You can get to lead and you can take your runs, but you just got to be there at the end. You're in fourth on the last lap, like you have a shot of winning the race. So it's like I said, it's just putting yourself in the right place to not get taken out. You don't want to be on the outside getting into turn one. You'll get taken out. So you have to just really be smart about where you position your car all night long to just be alive at the end and then race it on the last lap.
So Daytona's going to be wild next week, but you've got the win. Last question before we let you go, Chase. I mean, your brother Cole won 2 races in the opening round of the playoffs. You've won tonight at Kentucky. Is this the Cabry playoffs? Do we have to worry about the Cabry brothers? Is that the force to be reckoned with for the rest of the schedule?
I mean, I don't know. I just, Cole and I will get on right there at start of practice, and we've got a lot of laps on the sim, which obviously helps us a ton. But Cabot's really good. Turner has really turned the wick up here lately. So yeah, I think I think we've been had a lot of pace lately, so hopefully we can just continue that trend and keep it going all the way through.
Well, it's going in the right direction, and tonight you've got your first win this season. I know that must feel amazing as you head into the rest of this playoffs and the second round, specifically Auto Club and Daytona Road Course in the next couple of weeks. Chase, we certainly appreciate the time. A big congratulations on the win tonight in the Next Level Racing 200, and we'll see you at the Daytona Road Course next week.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So that's Chase Cabry making that pass happen on the white flag lap to get around the 17 of Adam Cabot and grab his third career Monday Night Racing victory. We'll get the other side of the story. Car number 17, Adam Cabot. He's joined alongside by Dylan Connolly.
Adam, if it was one lap shorter, you would have won the race. But I really loved your strategy call that you had there. What was the thought process behind just kind of going off script of what everyone else was doing?
Just a coin flip, really. I mean, we only had 3 sets of tires in the pits, so you're either pitting under that first caution like we did and hoping that it goes green, or you're doing what a lot of the rest of the field did and what the Cabrys did, and you're staying out and hoping that you get a caution late. So, I mean, it really is a coin flip. You don't really know which way it's going to go, and it looked like it was going to work in our favor. And then we got that caution late, and I want to say that killed our race, but luckily I still came home in second, which was surprising. I thought that we were going to get really eaten up on the old tires there, but luckily I pitted a couple laps later than Bailey, so I was at least able to get past him before he got dumped. But yeah, man, so close to. I was shocked that I was even in contention for the win on those tires, but it always stinks when you're that close and can't finish it off. But it was definitely a good hard fought race, close finish there. Definitely got the points that we need. At least beat Cole and Presley and Josh Slate. So we're leading those standings. It was a good points day, but it kind of a bummer because, like I said, it was the flip of the coin there. And if we didn't get that caution late, I think it was definitely the race winning strategy. But never know how these things are going to go.
Yeah, it ended up being a whole lot better than I even expected. You even expected for coming home in P2 here. But as you approach these races, you have Kentucky today, you have Daytona Road Course next week, and then you have Auto Club back in this car. What is your strategy on how you're going to approach these races? Are you just trying to do as good as you can, or are you paying attention to what Joshua Slate, Presley Sora, and Cole Cabry are doing in addition to what you're doing?
I just run my own race usually because that's usually what's going to net me the best result. Like I know Bailey, he tries to pay attention and stay focused on the different battles throughout, and that can work to your advantage because you can kind of maybe make strategy in a defensive way against those guys. But I found for me personally, anytime that I try to do something different, like I kind of just overthink the situation, and usually if I just run my own race and run the best strategy that I think is out there just to get a good finish and try to win the race, then that's usually how I get my best finishes here. So, I was going for the win tonight, and we'll do the same the next 2 weeks. Really, just I think need to survive the Miatas at Daytona Road Course. It's a fun combo, but it's kind of a bit of a pack race. So, I mean, you could just easily get dumped there and with no cautions lose 15, 20 positions and 15, 20 points, and that could be the whole championship right there with all the resets. So, I mean, next week I guess kind of is survival, but you still got to be aggressive to finish ahead of the other guys and bring home the points. But looking forward to Gen 4 at Auto Club. That's gonna be a really fun race.
Yeah, how much have you liked these Gen 4 races?
I love them. This was a little bit more. I mean, tonight's race wasn't bad, but it definitely was a pretty narrow group with this track. But these cars are just so much fun to drive. They're a handful. There's way more power than you need, so you're having to really modulate the throttle and counter steer, and you do have to save tires, but it's not crazy saving of tires. Like you can really just adjust your lines and do some things different to more like manage your tires than do like a hard save. So yeah, I love these cars. They're probably my favorite car in the service. The next gen's a lot of fun too, but yeah, glad that we're finishing off the season. If I can just make it to the final four, I think that I can do really well at Chicago. That's the type of mile-and-a-half track with this car that's like my bread and butter. So couldn't ask for a better car track combo to end the season. Just need to make sure we can get there.
Real quick before we cut you loose, anyone who want to thank Adam?
Yeah, I want to thank my teammate Bailey Turner for saving my race because I'm pretty tired tonight, and I almost pulled in the pits with the Cabrys when they pitted with that caution late there when I didn't actually even have any tires left. So Um, he gave a quick shot in the radio. He was like, what are you doing? You don't have any tires. And I pulled back on the track. So that would have been a pretty stupid way to finish off this race and give up a ton of points. So shout out to Bailey for keeping me in this thing.
Yeah, Bailey Turner's pretty cool, I would say.
I'd have to agree with you on that.
Adam, appreciate the time. Congratulations on your second place finish. Good luck the next 3 weeks.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
That was the driver of the number 17 machine, Adam Cabot, and I believe Kenneth Bueno is standing by with our third place finisher, Cole Cabry.
Yes, sir. 2 wins in the first round. It's a third place finish for the start of the second. And Cole, of course, a lot of the damage from that spin, and you certainly wasn't expecting near the end of that. But how do you describe the chase for the final 2 laps there?
The final handful of laps, I mean, they were fun. I wish I didn't have that damage. I don't know if I would have won or not, but I at least would have been able to at least fight for it, I would say. But I was just on defense that final restart, just with that damage that when Colin turned Bailey and I had nowhere to go and smacked him.
And so obviously that was insane watching that all happen. And for you, I mean, you had one of the fastest cars all night long. You led a bunch of laps. Strategy came into the fold until it kind of didn't near the end of the race. And Chase was talking about the elation that he had when the caution came out with Mark Rubilis to bring the entire field together. I can imagine the sentiment was the same for you. How do you kind of like backpedal off of that momentum you get from the caution, being able to get back in the race, and then all the emotions that just happen right after as you're getting locked in for the end?
Yeah, we definitely got excited right there when we saw that yellow because we thought we played the right strategy by not pitting under that first yellow, and that wasn't the case. They were going to smoke us if that yellow didn't come out. So we definitely were excited. And then, yeah, like once you go back green, you just got to calm down because those guys are so slow on those old tires, and you just got to bite time. And of course, they're going to race you aggressive because they're mad that you had tires. So, yeah, no, you just got to calm down and fight through the pack. And yeah, luckily, like we had a decent. Luckily, that yellow came out, so we could take tires, and we had some good finishes.
So now we move forward to the rest of the second round. We've got a lot of good stuff upcoming. Mazda MX-5s at the Daytona Road Course. We return to the Gen 4 action at Auto Club Speedway before we got the finale at Chicagoland Speedway with these same cars. And while Chase and Adam have experience with the car at the Daytona Road Course, the MX-5, you've never raced that combo in this series before. So how do you try and tackle that? Do you sort of get Chase for any sort of experience and try to learn off of him, run practice laps? How do you try to attack the next race?
Oh, I've heard it's all about drafting. I've seen a race in real life, so if it's anything like that, it's gonna be hectic. I think I was just talking to Adam and Bailey about it, and they said that it's just literally you got to place yourself in the right spot with about a handful of laps and try to get the draft to win. So all I could think of is just going to be a pack of Mazdas just mobbing around Daytona until like 5 to go, and all hell's gonna break loose. So, um, hopefully we can make it through. Anytime I go to a super speedway, I'm like somewhere 8 seconds back, upside down. So we'll figure it out and hopefully, advance and fight for the championship.
And next week's race is going to be rolling deep, literally, with everybody in the pack. That's going to be crazy going to the checker flag. We're really excited to see you and the rest of the field take that on, and it's a really good start here in this second round. How do you swing that momentum into the rest of it? We return with the Gen 4s at Auto Club. We know how good you are with this car, so talk about your excitement heading into those last couple of races when it's dominated with Gen 4 action.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't turn into a strategy race. I really just enjoy leaving it up to like your true speed and just going at it. Of course you're gonna have to tire save, but at least get some caution so where it bunches everybody back up and you're able to race. The long green flag runs. I mean, I'm sure you guys were like sleeping halfway through trying to commentate it. I mean, I was driving, so no one likes green flag runs. We all like to race and and brawl out and it's just more fun. So, like I said, I don't know. I guess we'll just take it race by race and lap by lap.
Hey, it's my job not to sleep, but it was a lot of fun watching everything unfold and how crazy it got near the end. Cole, we certainly appreciate the time. Wishing you the congratulations on the third place finish here from Kentucky Speedway, and can't wait to see what you cook up at the Daytona Road Course next week with the MX-5s.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
That's Cole Cabry in the 51. Closes out our top 3 here tonight from the virtual Kentucky Speedway. Now, Decon, just another race where we expected it to probably be chaotic. we expected it to probably have a lot of drivers out of control and into the wall. We didn't see that until the very end. We saw a lot of the strategy come up, the two groups split in half between old and fresh tires, the way they cycled in between each other. We had a whale of a race trying to decipher everything that was going to go on, and then you've got a curveball thrown at the end of that inning, if you will, with that caution flag throwing everything out of whack. But for Chase Cabre to finally get over the top of the mountain after struggling earlier in the season and then building it back slowly but surely, it's got to be huge for him and his championship campaign.
I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, you got to have a good start. You don't want to be playing catch up into that big wild card race next week at Daytona, and then if it ends up being worse, then you have to go out and win the race or do a heck of a job at Auto Club the week after. So I think the guys like, both the Cabres were in good shape. Adam Cabot are in good shape after tonight, but they still need a pretty solid race next week, and then they'll feel a lot better. But nobody's feeling good. Nobody's feeling good into these next 2 weeks. But you mentioned this race. It kind of went how I thought it would go. It was a real slick car. The setup was real loose. There's a lot of separation throughout the field, but until the end, when everyone got accordioned back together, that's where it started to get a little hairy. And I think the guys that were going to finish up front finished up front.
The cream rises to the top, as you said earlier in the show. It just comes back full circle. We head to the Daytona road course with the MX-5s next week, and while we've got a lot of Gen 4 action in these last races up until the finale at Chicagoland, this is really going to be the oddball race, right, Decon? I mean, usually this combo, we've seen it either early in the playoffs or in the regular season. We never see it this far deep into the championship pursuit, so this is going to be absolutely wild when we get to the World Center of Racing and the infield road course next Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. When you hear Daytona, you think big lottery race. Well, it's still going to be a big lottery race because all these cars are going to be so close together. It's going to drive like a pack race, and I won't be here, but I can't wait to see it next week.
We talk about Gen 4 races and probably some of the predictability with those in the skill gap at the top and at the bottom, but tonight's race certainly proved that things can change very quickly to unpredictability, and next week is going to be filled with strategy, whether it's draft pack racing and, of course, the coveted run to the start-finish line, which is always crowded with traffic and competition ready for the challenge. That'll be next Monday, January 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You'll find the coverage right here, same place as always, the podiums, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and of course the Monday Night Racing Twitter page as well. That'll do it for us here tonight from the virtual Kentucky Speedway and the Next Level Racing 200 for Ford Martin and everyone at MNR, Brandon Davis and Michael Hall in race control, for Ryan Bauer at Podium Esports, our camera builder Dougie Beard, our overlay builder Michael Hall, for Cameron Aubernon on our Podium Esports social media, and for the crew on the broadcast tonight, for our producer Eddie Smith, and for my colleague in the booth tonight, Dylan Connolly, I'm Kenneth Bueno saying good night from Kentucky. We'll see you in Daytona Beach 1 week from tonight, next Monday, to get the next race of the second round done in the MNR playoffs.